Say this from an Aztec fan perspective, trust in the staff. They've done it before. They'll do it again. They replaced their top 7 scorers from last year. They got to the NCAA tournament. I trust in the staff to find a way via the portal and with returning players to get this team back to the NCAA tournament next year.
This is not something new for Dutch. Like, expecting this to happen is probably something that he and his coaching staff talked about. I believe in Dutch.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is Hour 1, Jon and Jim. And speaking of Brian Dutcher, he will join the show today at 4 p.m. as the transfer portal is fully open and as he begins to transition his thoughts towards this upcoming season. So Brian Dutcher will join us, his thoughts on the current state of the portal and NIL and more. Brian Dutcher will join us coming up at 4 p.m. You just mentioned the fact that opening day is 48 hours out. 47 hours out. They're going to play at 1:10.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
So we are just 2 days away from it. We're looking forward to it. Again, a special broadcast time for you on Thursday. We're downtown. We're on the air from 11 to 2. Hopefully you listen from 11 to 1, but we're on the air from 11 to 2 on Thursday here
right.
on San Diego Sports 760. Great giveaway today.
Makes
Jim
sense.
Again, Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan tickets, May 15th, North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater. So 48 hours out. What's interesting is what Dennis Lin wrote today in The Athletic, and we've heard this previously before, but this idea that the Padres have continually approached Jackson Merrill over the last 2+ seasons about locking him up long-term. They went to him before he ever made his major league debut. They've since had conversations since he has made the major leagues. And Jackson Merrill in this article, Jim, is quoted as saying this: I want to be here long-term. He initially said, I don't care about thee, and then rephrased himself and said, I care about the money for sure. I know my value and my worth. I'm not oblivious. I want to be here, but I'm not going to try and screw them and take all their money. So what's your reaction here? The Padres have gone to Jackson Merrill over the last 2+ years. Merrill has said now repeatedly he wants to be in San Diego, even offering up this idea that he would even take less to potentially stay here based on this quote to Dennis Lin today, which I found a little bit surprising and I think is probably speaking out of turn as a 21-year-old. The agent will deal with that, but clearly Merrill wants to be here long-term. He said it now multiple times.
All you got to do is go back just about a week ago to Nick Boyd. And I'm going to link the two here.
Interesting.
Nick Boyd, and I love Nick Boyd. You know, he made this decision on, I remember it was tough and his family had a lot of influence, especially his uncle, right? But Nick Boyd said pretty blatantly, like, we'll be back. We, right? He used the term we a lot. We talked to him multiple times. He never said, I'm 100% returning. Those words did not come out of his mouth, but everything that he said pointed towards he was going to return next year. So you can say a bunch of things and then things can change in an instant. So with Jackson Merrill, it's the same thing. He could say a bunch of things and it could change in an instant when his agent's like, bro, you deserve a $250 million contract or something along those lines. And then the Padres say, well, we can't give him that. And then Jackson Merrill's gone. So things can change. Words are words. And I love hearing this from Jackson, just like I love hearing it from Nick Boyd. And I don't doubt that Jackson Merrill would want to be here for the entirety of his career. But there's also agents involved. This is a business that he will eventually learn about. Last year, none of that mattered, right? Like the business side, potentially being traded. Like he was just like a kid in a candy store. Every single day comes to the ballpark, plays 100% and just playing baseball. Eventually, the game becomes more of a business. And right now, Jackson Merrill is in that like honeymoon kid phase of the sport. And once it becomes real and they actually do start talking about legit numbers and years, and you have your agent in your ear and your family in your ear, like things will change. So words are words. Things can change in an instant. I love hearing him say that though, but the price has got to be right.
The big winner in him not signing a long-term extension ultimately is going to be Jackson Merrill. I mean, they went to him before he reached the big leagues, which has become more commonplace because they were looking for, that sweetheart deal because you didn't know who the player would be in the major league. So, you take some of the risk out of it by getting him locked up long term. But we had Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs on with us within the last 2 or 3 months, and he said every month that passes with a player of Merrill's quantity or quality is going to cost an organization potentially $10 million in that extension. And I don't know what we're looking at, Jim, but we're looking now at $100+ million. That's clear as day. There was a deal that Jackson Chourio signed that was referenced in this article, 8 years, $80 million, when Chourio hadn't yet reached the major leagues. Now Merrill has been second in Rookie of the Year voting. This is going to be a massive deal. I don't doubt in the Padres organization to keep Jackson Merrill long term. This will actually link the article that Kevin Acee wrote today about the organization. I don't doubt their ability to keep him long term. I don't. But I do wonder at what cost, so to speak, for the rest of the team. Because if Merrill's going to remain, just like when you lock up Machado for $350 or Bogarts for $280 or Toddy for $340, what expense does that come at? The expense is this, Jim. Jason Hayward makes $1 million. Martin Maldonado makes $1 million. Kyle Higashioka walks out the door. Jerkson Profar walks out the door. As in, when you pay another $100 million contract, what does that mean for the rest of your team moving forward?
Good question, because that's what they're dealing with right now. You know, you paid Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts and Fernando Tatis Jr. and Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, list goes on and on, all this money. And now you're dealing with the consequences of having to have Jason Hayward, Martin Maldonado, and Yuli Gurriel on your roster. Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
I did find it interesting, this quote from AJ. We've had conversations at different moments over the last few years, even dating back to when he was in the minor leagues. He understands that we value him a lot and want him here for a long time. I think we knew that there was contract extension talks, like very briefly before the start of last year. Kevin has told us that, right?
Yep.
But I do think it's interesting when he said we've had conversations at different moments over the last few years, not just prior to last season when he debuted, you know, at 20 years old. So that's interesting. I would be interested to see if there were any calls made to his agent during last year at any point, like when Jackson Merrill was just, you know, lighting the world on fire and hitting game tying and game winning home runs, that, hey, maybe you want to talk about something here going forward. Like, I'd be interested to know if that were happening.
Well, that's kind of the overall point, which is like, do we understand collectively, like if you're a Padres fan, what this is going to cost them if they don't get this done? This has always been my point. Mm-hmm. Remember last year I was harping on it and everyone's like, 6 years. Relax. Who cares? They have bigger priorities. Michael King, Dylan Cease, Luis Ariz, whatever else, right? But do they have bigger priorities if they envision him being here? If they think this guy's going to be here for 10 years and a perennial all-star, why would you pay $200 for something you can get for $100, right? If they think he's going to be here for 10 years and they ultimately sign this player for $200 million, but they could have done it a year ago for $100 million, they just cost themselves $100 million over the length of that deal, or let's say $10 million per year. That $10 million goes to Luis Ariz in the future, or Dylan Cease in the future, or whatever. That's my overall point. It's not because they have to sign Jackson Merrill today. He's not literally making a decision whether he's going to be here in 2026 or not. That's not the case. But if they think he's going to be here and they wait this off for another year plus, it will truly cost them, Jim, upwards of $50 to $100 million. And that'll tie us into what we'll talk about later this hour, which is the Padres, while they maintain a high payroll, and they do, they're going to enter this year with a $200 million payroll. I think officially $199 point something million. What they don't share with the other teams in the top 10 is TV revenue. So, like, they got to compete in a different way than these other teams. To their credit, they're going to spend the $200 million. To the Padres fans' credit, they're going to show up and support this team at Petco Park. But while the Dodgers could easily give out a $200 million contract to Jackson Merrill, for the Padres, the difference in a $100 million contract and a $200 million contract, to me, is a fortune, because they don't have the money to work with that other franchises like the Mets, Red Sox, Yankees, and Dodgers have.
Yeah, you know, I make a good point there with everything. I think also, too, taking a step back, realizing kind of like after today, the contract talks with Jackson Merrill, to me, won't be that big of a conversation unless there is news that pops up of them having talks, or at the end of the year, right, when we're in the off season, and if you put together another all-star season, then we can spend a real good amount of time on it.
So you're saying once you get into season, I agree with you. Typically, the contract discussion is going to like simmer down, and the player's going to play.
Yeah, that's why you see a lot of deals happen right before the start of the season, because these players are setting deadlines. Like, I don't want to deal with this during the season. I want to get this done. I think Cal Raleigh today signed.
Yeah, he did over $100 million
with the Mariners.
Yeah,
like it's an extension, obviously, but you see other players sign extensions before the start of the season because they just want to get this thing done with and out of the way. Because once you get in season, you don't want any distractions. You don't want anything that you're thinking about in the field other than what's this guy going to throw me on his 0-2 count, right?
Right.
So I think we are in the very, 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 very early stages of these discussions about Jackson Merrill and his contract, right? But it should absolutely be talked about, and it absolutely should be thought about for him, because, man, if he has another good year, if he puts together another season like he did last year, and I said yesterday, I think the kid can get better. Like, I think Jackson Merrill has it. He has it. And I think that we are just seeing just the surface. I mean, last year was amazing, but I think he can put together a season where he potentially has 30 home runs.
Well, what does it say about his dollars he's going to make from the Padres in extension with Cal Raleigh, a career 218 hitter? Now, he's hit for power.
Yeah.
And he's a catcher. So that's not the only focus.
Right.
And, they see him as a cornerstone catcher that can call games and more than just offense. He hits for power. But he's got a 740 career OPS, and Jackson Merrill last year was 100 points better than that. What does it say about the fact that Cal Raleigh got $105 million? What is it? Seriously, and every day that you put it off, and I agree with you, I'm not expecting some news May 1st or June 1st on Jackson Merrill once we get into the season. I think it's a really good point, but you put it off another year, Cal Raleigh's getting 105. Be prepared to see some crazy number with Jackson Merrill if they eventually sign him to a long-term deal.
If they keep putting this off and procrastinating, it will come back to bite them in the ass.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Whether it's the player walks, I don't expect that. There's no reason. There's no reason to forecast that 1 year into his tenure based on what he said, what Preller has said. There's no reason to forecast it. It's possible, right? But I mean, I'm not forecasting him walking.
I'm not forecasting him walking either, unless
things change.
He, in the next 5 years, has 4 more All-Star appearances and finishes like top 5 in MVP. You know what I mean? Like, then you got some real problems if you have not yet locked him up.
Yeah, they couldn't afford to do that.
Yeah, same conversations with Paul Skeens. I mean, the Pirates, how they haven't gotten a contract done with him right now is insane, and that's malpractice.
They got no shot.
No
shot. As
shot.
time passes, he's going to need like $300-500 million.
There is no way that once Paul Skeens' arbitration finishes and becomes a free agent, there's no way he's going to return there.
I'd phrase it like this if you want to weigh in: 877-767-4760, or you can text us 70470, start it with team, or hit us up on the talkback mic by opening the iHeartRadio app. Can the Padres afford not to keep Jackson Merrill? And will they be able to afford to keep him if they put this off long term? But will Jackson Merrill be in a Padres uniform long term? And also on the other side, we're hearing from the Padres organization itself that business has never been better. So what does that mean for Jackson Merrill's future as well? Is it true that business has never been better for the San Diego Padres? That's next on Jon and Jim. All right, speaking of San Diego FC, you can listen to San Diego FC on the all-new iHeartRadio app. Download it and put San Diego Sports 760 in your presets. While you do it, put Jon and Jim in your presets. If you ever miss any portion of the show, any hour, any interview, we'll talk to Brian Dutcher, for example, today at 4 p.m. If you've got the all-new app, search for it, then put Jon and Jim in your presets, put San Diego Sports 760 in your presets. Never miss any live show, any interview, any hour, all available to you in the free iHeartRadio app. The Padres will start in 2 days, and they've made renovations to Petco Park, and they're expecting to once again draw 3 million fans, which is incredible, and their season ticket memberships are through the roof. They've even touched on some of the TV revenue they've garnered through Padres.tv within the last year or two, as Kevin Acee spoke with Eric Grupner within the last day or so about the state of the Padres' finances. And we touched on this, Jim, earlier. It is true that the Padres are top 10 in payroll entering the year, $199-point-something million heading into 2025. But what's also true, and we touched on this earlier today, is that the Padres' TV revenue has dropped significantly in the absence of that deal with Bally Sports, where we don't exactly know the figure. We know they made something like $4 or $5 million in subscribers through Padres.tv. $4 or $5 million, Jim. They used to make $60 million per year.
Yeah.
I think Kevin wrote in this article today, he believes that the Padres are between 20 and 30 million in TV revenue. They used to be between 60 and 65 million, Jim, in TV revenue. By comparison, the Dodgers are getting $334 million per year in TV. So the business is good. Fans are going through the turnstiles. They got all new food items at Petco. They'll sell merchandise in the brand new team store. But can they make up for that significant revenue loss that we've touched on for years now? Less in TV, and not just less that they used to get. Other teams are making significantly more in television. What does that mean for the Padres moving forward?
Yeah, again, I'm not great with numbers.
I can confirm that.
Yes, you can. I don't think it's the flex that Eric Grupner thinks it is, saying that they had the most subscriptions of all teams last year, and it was 47,000. And I don't think that's the type of like flex he thinks he's saying. That
they had the most television subscribers through the MLB.com
system. I just don't think that's like something maybe you'd want to brag about, knowing that you did have a $60 million plus TV deal. Again, wasn't your fault that Bally Sports was awful, but still you had a $60 million TV deal. And it feels like you're kind of bragging that you had 47,000 subscribers to your channel, but at the same time, you went from 60 million to less than 5 million.
Right. The 47,000 subscribers we theorized was $4.7 million. Or Kevin wrote that in the article.
Yeah, that's, again, not great with numbers, but I do know 60 is greater than 5.
And also, if they had the most subscribers, and listen, there's no one questioning Padres fan support. It's been awesome. Mm-hmm. We go to the ballpark. I see it. You walk anywhere in San Diego, I see 5 Padres hats everywhere I go. The support is unwavering. It's been terrific. I'm talking more about sustainability. 47,000 people subscribing on Padres.tv is great. There's only 2 or 3 other teams on MLB.tv right now.
That's what, 5,000 more than capacity at Petco?
Right. To your point, it's an interesting thing to be like
in a county of over 3 million people.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing to like. Here's the thing. They don't need to prove to me that they have support. They need to prove to me they can sustain their payroll long term.
Yeah.
So they need to prove to me what John Seidler writes in a letter to Padres season ticket holders, which we have unwavering support and we're dedicated to winning World Series. I can write it too. Mm-hmm. I can write the letter. I got to prove it with the wallet time and time and time again with Merrill, with Cease, with King. Again, a lot of this isn't going to happen with I got to prove it with the purse strings other than proving it by saying we've got the best fans in baseball and thank you.
Yeah, that don't go so far.
Right.
The fans will only show up if you are giving them a reason to show up. Right.
You can't guarantee winning.
You will have the diehards every year, but I was there in the early 2010s. That place was bare.
Yeah, I remember it.
All right.
Yeah.
Now that's the whole thing is fans showed up only for like really good giveaways
or opponents.
Hey,
Look, the Giants are here. The Dodgers, the Cubs.
Right.
Yep.
So you got to give them a reason to show up. Players winning, and to their credit, they've absolutely done that the last 5-6 years. But I don't know if it's Eric Grupner's like main thing, or it has baseball has to do something with it. But again, if you're bragging about you had the most subscriptions of any team in baseball, and that was only 47,000, and you went from a $60 million TV deal, and now you're getting paid under $5 million for your TV deal. Again, I don't think that's the type of flex that he thought it was. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, I'm glad you say it. You know what? Honestly, dude, some of it, you mentioned Nick Boyd in the first segment. I'll mention the portal right now. It's different, but it's the same. If you're getting $5 million in TV and the Dodgers are getting 334,
that's so stupid.
Isn't it ridiculous?
That's so stupid.
Now, again, that's the opposite ends of the spectrum. Not everyone's getting 334. I don't know what the Phillies are getting. I don't know what the Red Sox are getting. But there's teams getting money. Kevin wrote about it in the article. We could look it up. There's teams getting in the hundreds. The Angels are in the hundreds. The Angels, because they're in LA, quote unquote, are getting $100-something million. But a little bit like the portal, like how sustainable is unlimited free agency and no salary cap? How sustainable is the Padres getting $4.7 million and their neighbors to the north getting 334?
Well, you know when this isn't sustainable? When they stop winning. So when they stop winning, and guess what, guys? Eventually it will happen. When they stop winning and they revert back to the 2010, version Padres, not the 2010, but you get my point.
Then there's no $200 million payroll because they don't have the TV money to support it.
Yeah. And you think that 47,000 people will be subscribing to your TV deal if your team sucks?
No, it's going to be me and Jim.
Yeah. You need to have something that is sustainable, something that is going to bring in more than $4.7 million. You can't get it through advertisements. You can't get it through anything else of that lump sum of money. So they are, to their credit, they are trying to maximize on everything that they have done the last 5 years. Hopefully it pays off, but eventually there's an end in sight where they're going to have to pivot and kind of course correct and reinvent themselves. They can't live off of this for the foreseeable future like the Dodgers can. The Dodgers can live off that TV deal for the foreseeable future, and they're good. Padres can't. And so, again, I sit here and I read those quotes, and I see that piece by Kevin saying, though, everything is great, which I'm sure it is right now to an extent. But how long is that sustainable for? And when you're bragging that you had 47,000 subscribers to your TV deal, that's one Saturday night at Petco Park.
Yeah, in terms of how many people are there.
So you went from 60 to 5.
Well, consider this.
I just don't understand the bragging of it.
Dodgers 334 pays for their entire team, right? I don't know what their payroll is, but is it in the 300?
Yeah, probably does.
So the TV pays for the entire deal. You know what this 4.7 pays for? Elias Diaz.
If two Elias Diaz's.
Yeah. I mean, so that's the difference. And it's a big one.
Yeah.
All right. On the other side, back to on field. We know who's in the Padres rotation, the entire 5-man rotation. We'll share it with you. On the other side, Brian Dutcher will join us at 4 p.m. Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. We'll start with the Padres. We are 2 days away from opening day on Thursday afternoon. Michael King and Chris Sale will be on the mound for opening day. Just a reminder, the Jon and Jim show is going to be at Sidebar for our opening day broadcast starting at 11 a.m. Come on down and say hi. And the Brian Dutcher, well, not the Brian Dutcher show, but Brian Dutcher does join the show at 4 p.m. today to talk about the transfer portal and much, much more. And this update's been brought to you by Staples.
All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Like Jim just told you, Brian Dutcher will join us coming up at 4 p.m. Also in the 4 o'clock hour, your chance to win tickets to see Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan right here in San Diego, May 15th, North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater. So based on the moves the Padres have made over the last 24 hours, will lead us down the path of we know who is in this rotation. I don't know if it's been finalized from Mike Schilt. He hasn't spoken to the media today, for example.
He'll speak to the media tomorrow at an open workout.
Okay. But Stephen Kolek's been optioned, which means he's probably not in the rotation.
Probably not.
Since he's not on the team.
Yeah, that's good
and
guess.
There were only two others that were competing for that number 5 spot at the end of spring training, and that was Randy Vasquez, who Kevin had said he thought had an inside track to one of those spots, and then Kyle Hart, who they brought over from overseas and was competing for one of those spots. Remember, initially it was one spot, but then Yu Darvish went down and will start the year on the IL. So the season actually starts with 2 vacancies in the rotation. And we believe they'll be filled, Jim, by Randy Vasquez and Kyle Hart, with Stephen Kolek beginning the year in the minor leagues. No?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and throw a fuss before opening day before I actually see things, but I really thought that Stephen Kolek deserved a spot in that rotation. I really do. I think Kyle Hart deserved one as well. And there were 2 spots, and I thought that it should have gone to Hart and to Stephen Kolek.
Right.
But it didn't. If I'm just looking here at their springs, right? Stephen Kolek this spring, and these are where spring numbers can actually mean something.
Right.
Like Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr., like those spring numbers mean nothing to me. But guys like Stephen Kolek and Randy Vasquez and Kyle Hart, those numbers mean something because they're trying to make the team. Stephen Kolek in spring, 17 and a third innings pitched, 2.60 ERA, 1.33 WHIP, 5 games, 12 strikeouts.
Okay.
That's good. I think that's pretty good. If I'm looking at his game log here, which I don't have, but wait, hold on. Yeah, I mean he was building up to be a starter, right?
Okay.
If I'm going to look here at Kyle Hart, all right, in spring, 7 2/3, a 9.39 ERA, a 1.57 WHIP.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
And now let's look at Randy Vasquez, shall we? If I could find him here. Does he have any? There we go.
Yep.
Randy Vasquez in spring, 8 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, a 1.88 WHIP, a 3.38 ERA. So if you're looking at spring numbers, you're like, oh, Kolek and Vasquez. But instead they went Hart and Vasquez.
Because it's not solely going to be based on that. There's other factors. Contracts.
Yes, there is.
Options.
Yes, there is.
Right. We've talked about that. Sometimes spring numbers matter. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes guys are given jobs. Sometimes they have to earn it. Like Jason Hayward was given left field. That's what Kevin Acee said to us.
Which I don't know if he's going to be the left fielder for that long this year. I predict that he won't make it the full season.
But to start the year.
Right?
And Kyle Hart has ultimately been given one of these 2 spots in this 5-man rotation. And again, that doesn't mean he's going to be up all year. They're going to have to perform. And again, with those fringier, lower cost pieces is where performance matters. It doesn't matter at all for Manny Machado. Manny Machado's playing every day.
Yeah.
His performance is, it has no factor whether he's going to play or not. Now you need him to perform, but with someone like Kyle Hart, who was pitching last year in the KBO and won like the KBO Cy Young, that's great and all. But if your first 4 outings, you've got a 6.4 ERA and the team's 0-4 in those outings, you can't get out of the 4th inning, he's not going to have a long leash. So, and they'll have other options available to them, and they're going to need Yu Darvish in that hypothetical. If one of these guys is struggling out of the gates, you're going to be looking more at your watch and be like, when's you coming back? If Vasquez, Kolek, and whomever else Hart are good, then you can deal with Darvish being on the IL.
My guess is Stephen Kolek immediately will be stretched out in the minors.
Yep.
And he'll be on standby. If Vasquez and Hart just aren't performing, guess what, Stephen Kolek, you'll be in the big leagues sooner rather than later.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think Stephen Kolek should think that he's going to be buried in the minors for the entire season.
That's the thing with a 162 game season. And I do think it's an easier sell in baseball. Like, it's fair. Preller and Schilt bring you in, like they say, listen, you didn't make our 5-man rotation. We're going to continue to stretch you out down there, work on the following, and you will be up. It's how the sport works. What are the odds? I think they used 8 starters last year. That's a low number. Mm-hmm. And they used 8. So Kolek is going to serve some type of role. I just know it. Randy Vasquez spent time down last year, didn't he? Even with his 20 starts.
Yeah,
he spent some time down.
Yeah, he did.
So that's just the point. You're going to need the 6th and the 7th and the 8th starter, and that includes Stephen Kolek, if I had to guess, this year.
Yeah, I think Stephen Kolek of the 3. Give me the one, because I just said my name, Stephen Kolek. Who do you think of those 3 will have the biggest impact on the team this year? Vasquez, Hart, Kolek. Who has the biggest impact?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Should have probably been in the wrap.
That's a really good question. And I'm going to say it's so hard to have a good feel for that. It's really hard to have.
Because it's the start of the season and things change so fast.
I'll say Randy Vasquez because they gave him such a long leash last year. If he did actually make those 20 starts, I'll say maybe he's got a chance to stay in the rotation even when Darvish comes back.
Okay. Yeah, I think Randy Vasquez put together some really good performances last year.
He did, but it was also up and there were. I mean, I guess it's always up and down with starters.
Yeah, it is. Especially guys
like Dylan Cease throws a no hitter, and they're like, "Man, he's had a tough month." Right. Remember after the no hitter, like he hasn't pitched the same. Well, yeah, because he threw a no hitter.
But none of these guys are going to be starting in the playoffs if they make it. You know what I mean?
No chance.
Like they're just not.
If you are, the ideal situation is you have 4 starters for your postseason.
Yeah, you have to kind of have 4 starters almost. Yeah. Unless you're the Dodgers and you can get away with it.
Right. That's a whole nother conversation. But again, it goes back to this point. If they get to the postseason, they get there on the backs of that rotation.
Cease, King, Pivetta.
I think, and maybe Darvish, hopefully Darvish.
Who knows?
And then they also get there on the backs of Manny, Toddy, and wherever else you go there, Merrill.
And I think they do have a fairly good bullpen.
They do.
I'm not going to call it an elite bullpen. I think it's a fairly good bullpen. I think that if Suarez can have a second pitch developed and he can go out there and not look like the Suarez at the end of the year, instead look like the Suarez at the beginning of last year, mixed in with Jason Adam, who is filthy, and Jeremiah Estrada, Yuki Matsui, like you have a fairly good bullpen to win a bunch of ball games.
Yeah, no, I agree. And especially early in the year, by the way, that bullpen is almost on display more often because guys are on pitch counts. I'm talking about like Cease. Stretch it out. Like opening day, when we saw Michael King in the postseason against Atlanta strike out 14, I think that's what the number was.
Right.
You're not given the opportunity in all likelihood to be on the mound to strike out 14 batters in opening day. I mean, maybe not. If everything's beautiful and you're just mowing guys down, and maybe they give you the extra inning or whatever. But
there probably won't be one starter for their team on opening day that gets into the 9th inning or the 8th inning.
You're saying like all year?
No, just on opening day for baseball.
Oh, across the league.
Across the entire league.
I agree.
I don't think there'll be one pitcher that gets into even the 8th inning.
And you know what's going to happen? Someone's going to be 18 up and 18 down. Bullpen.
Yeah, 75 pitches. He's good.
Yeah. We got to think about the season.
He threw 80 pitches.
It's a long year. He's up to 81 pitches. He was really a max effort guy.
Okay.
It's just, some of that is, I do understand it. Like, what's the value of a no-hitter compared to what's the value of a team's overall season?
The marketing team would tell you the value of a no-hitter is very high.
That's true. No, I'm not saying it doesn't have value because, I mean, the Musgrove thing we'll remember for forever.
Group Dog would tell you that give me all the no-hitters you possibly can.
And to Marty's overall point, thank the Lord the Padres first was one player, one pitcher. And the 2 they've ever had have been done without combining for a no-hitter. Yeah. But I don't even know where we started the segment. Yeah, 4th and 5th starters. So a lot like the bench, I can't lose too much sleep over, oh man, Kolek's starting in the minor leagues and they're turning to Vasquez. I don't know. It'll sort itself out.
It will. And this roster is going to look so different by the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wish I could just like fast forward and go, in a time machine to bring back their roster on the final day of the season. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And then just to like tell everybody, like, it's going to be so different. So different. I don't think Yuli Gurriel or Jason Hayward make it the entire year. I really don't. I think the only reason why Martin Maldonado has the best chance of those three is because they don't have any catchers. They don't have nobody. You know, like and Schulte loves them. So, and maybe they go out, but those three guys, I mean, if all three of those dudes make it on this team and they're up in the bigs for the entire season, I would be surprised.
Yeah, I would too.
Because they are not guys that are more often than not going to help you win ball games. They're going to maybe help you a couple times. They'll have maybe some like small bursts, but overall, they're just. I'm sorry, Yuli Gurriel, stop.
Yeah, I mean
Jason Hayward, like, okay, stop.
Yeah, again, it's like if you were playing like MLB The Show 2018, but we're not. We're playing MLB The Show 2026, whatever year they put on it in 2025. All right, on the other side, we'll stay on this topic in terms of what decisions remain for the Padres with opening day less than 2 days away. Plus, Brian Dutcher, head coach of the Aztecs men's basketball team, entering season number 9, just off season number 8. He'll join us coming up at 4 p.m. right here on Jon and Jim. All right, San Diego Sports 760 is your home for March Madness. Catch all the action from the play-in games to the Final Four. Sweet 16 action returning this Thursday afternoon, Friday as well. Coverage beginning at 4 p.m. on your home for March Madness, San Diego Sports 760. The time works really well on Thursday. Padres opening day, but they'll play at 1, and then Sweet 16 beginning at 4 right here on San Diego Sports 760.
Yeah, so once the Padres game's over, just click on over here, and you'll be right in the middle of Sweet 16 action.
Sweet 16, Thursday and Friday, Elite 8. You can hear it here. Final Four, you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760.
Yep, can't wait. And also, just a reminder, we are going to be downtown on Thursday for opening day at Sidebar. We'll be on the patio, so you can come on by on your way to the game, say hi to us. We'll be doing our live broadcast there. And we can't wait. It's gonna be a fun day. You were not opening day last year.
I was not. I was in Boston with the Aztecs.
Yeah,
and that was fun.
Well, they lost by 30. So
but the experience, making the Sweet 16. Yes, playing UConn in Boston should be illegal. It's like a home game.
Right.
Aztecs have to travel across the country. Don't get me started. All right, let's go to the phones real quick, and then we can get back to some of the conversation about these decisions the Padres still have to make with the roster between now and 1:10 on Thursday. But 877-767-4760, or you can text us 70470. Start it with the word team. Matt wants to weigh in on the Padres, and Matt, you're on with Jon and Jim.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Yeah, so I've been critical of Shield in the past, but I have to be critical of Jon here. And I just want to read some numbers for you guys about San Diego. So San Diego is the 8th largest city in the country, the 5th most populous county in the country. Petco Park has the 5th highest capacity in the MLB and is 3rd in attendance. I'd hope that Jon would be able to recoup some money. Because let me ask you guys, does that sound like a small market to you?
Yeah, but we don't define that, Matt. I mean, hold on. Stay right there. Are you still there, Matt?
Yeah, I'm here.
But yeah, I understand the point that it's not a small market, but if you compare it to the other 30 teams and the TV markets, I mean, I get it. San Diego's a big city, but it's not as big as a TV DMA, so to speak, as Philadelphia. I don't make those rules. It's not Phoenix. It's not Chicago. It's not Houston. It's not Dallas. It's not LA. It's not San Francisco. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, relatively speaking, San Diego is bigger than Riverside, but they're competing in a league that's got the New York Mets and the LA Dodgers. So, I mean, we can't pretend like it's the same playing field. Yeah, they draw, but the Dodgers draw too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand, but I mean, it's my point is, if you look at teams, let's say compared to like the Brewers, who are competing year after year, or the Rays, I mean, you can't tell me that the Padres can't net more revenue than them, and they're still contending year after year.
That's fair.
No, that's fair. I agree with you. Thanks for the call, Matt. Appreciate it, buddy.
That's a good call.
Yeah, I have always, since I got into media here, and you know, people telling me that San Diego, the media market, isn't considered small. Like it's, if you look at the radio size, right? Yeah. Like it's a top,
it's like 15th or 16th.
15, 16 market in the country.
But at TV, it's top 30.
TV is top 30. Still, I mean, that's
when you compare it to the other teams in Major League Baseball, the problem is all those other teams are in the top 30.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, it's true. It's not small. The issue San Diego runs into, if San Diego and TJ were one city, this is Chicago. But San Diego and TJ aren't one city. They're in different countries. Like San Diego doesn't get credit for Orange County. LA does. We don't get credit for the sharks in the ocean. Like we're landlocked.
Wait, what?
So, like TJ is a different country. You go east, you're in a desert. You go west, you're in an ocean. You go north, you're in LA. So it's a massive county. But the issue that it runs into is it ends at the county. You don't get the credit for Orange. You don't get the credit for TJ.
And that,
you know,
and that's a reason why Peter was so beloved here for many different reasons. He always viewed San Diego and the Padres as a big market.
He did.
And he's like, look, if I consider this team to be in a big market, I'm going to act like we're in a big market.
Right.
So I'm going to spend like we're in a big market. I'm not going to use these, what people say about us as to a reason why I shouldn't spend money on the team that I own. Screw that.
Right.
I'm going to spend how I want to spend, and I want to give the fans the best experience possible. I want to give the fans something they never got to experience before, which is a championship. And I don't care how much it's going to cost me. That's a reason why he was so beloved. Is he
I agree.
never said, "Yeah, well, we're a small market, so we've got to operate different rules." He's like, "F that."
Well, okay, so Kevin writes this article today about how the Padres can make this quote unquote big splash in a small market. Now, he didn't create this. This is from Spot Track. So, market score from 1 to 30 of Major League Baseball, and the score is assigned based on population, income, and cable households. Okay? 1 through 30, based on population, incomes, cable households. You know where San Diego is? Tied for 24th. So again, when you put it in the perspective, I'm not saying San Diego is not Fargo.
How this place is so expensive to live.
It is, but when you see who's in the top 10, the Yankees and the Mets, and number 3, the Dodgers, and the Phillies.
Where's number 1?
Are 10th. Number 1 is a combination between the Mets and the Yankees.
Oh, got it.
So, but you know what I mean? Like even Houston in this equation is only 14th. Atlanta in this equation is 15th. So I'm just saying when you compare it, I'm with you. If we want to compare it to the University of New Mexico and Wyoming, well, San Diego is going to be the biggest of these markets. It's not a small market. I hate when in baseball only, we talk about market size. We don't do it in the NFL.
No.
Nobody's like, man, the Packers made the NFC Championship. What an accomplishment in such a small city.
Because of the TV money
They share it.
Yeah.
They're the same as the New York Giants. They can be much better than the New York Giants.
This is a dumb question, but
all of your questions are.
Yeah, thank you. Would it be any different if the Chargers were still here?
In what way?
Like that number that you just read?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And that's why the Chargers aren't here. That's the truth.
Yeah, I know that for many different reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, Dean being incompetent and can't get into the
At the
stadium.
end of the day, it comes down to money. Because someone saw on some spreadsheet, if we're in LA, we're worth more.
I'm just thinking to myself, like, if this town had an NFL team, along with baseball, now has an MLS team, has the NWSL.
I think the Padres payroll would be a lot lower if the Chargers were here. I think it'd be a lot lower. I don't think we would have had the same era of spending. I think they would have spent maybe more. I don't know. The same era. This is a market all to themselves. No, maybe with Peter.
No, it's
but
Peter,
before
man.
Peter and after Peter. Right? Because Peter's only going to go down as a 3-year run.
Yeah, but I don't think it would have mattered.
Really?
I really don't.
Because when the Chargers were here, the Padres weren't doing this.
Yeah, but also Peter didn't become control person until the 2020 season.
Agreed. But even before Peter, they started ramping up spending. This is post-Chargers.
They did, but Peter was a big influence on that.
Fair.
And he didn't start having a big influence until that 2019 season and really the 2018 season with Haas, because Ron Fowler, that dude did not want to spend that type of money.
Right. That's fair.
He was perfectly content with being the team in the corner. Like he did not want to spend that money.
But don't you believe that, and they would never say this publicly, that the NFL would be a detriment to the financial success of the Padres?
Oh, group would hate
advertising.
Yeah, group would hate it.
But I'm saying that they only have so much money. They put it into a pot, and that money they use on their.
The fact that
they have the same amount of money if the Chargers were here.
The fact that I don't think you were here during this, but when they had I forget what it was called, they had like a rally in
the Chargers rally,
the parking lot next to Petco about a stadium downtown.
Right.
And you had Dean there. You had Roger Goodell there. You had LT and Antonio Gates and Phillip Rivers and all these big names. He's like, we're going to build an NFL stadium right next to Petco Park. I don't think anybody inside the Padres organization was happy about that.
That's kind of my point.
Yeah,
that's kind of my point. All right, Brian Dutcher is going to join us coming up.
Maybe that's why they don't tweet.
No, I don't think so, dude.
Like, we're not going to tweet about anybody because they almost took our land.
I don't think so. Brian Dutcher joins us at 4 p.m. Much more on opening day, which is just 48 hours away. Plus, we have Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson tickets to give away. Jon and Jim, stay with us.
All right, this update is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. We'll start with the Padres. We're just 2 days away from opening day. Michael King and Chris Sale will be on the mound Thursday afternoon downtown. Speaking of downtown, we'll be at Sidebar for our opening day broadcast starting at 11 a.m. On your way to the ballpark, come on by and say hi. And the Brian Dutcher, not the Brian Dutcher show, you idiot. I know, I'm an idiot. Brian Dutcher. He's going to join us today at 4 p.m. to talk about the transfer portal and much, much more. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at progressive.com. That's progressive.com.
Previously on Jon and Jim.
I would say this from an Aztec fan perspective, trust in the staff. They've done it before. They'll do it again. They replaced their top 7 scorers from last year. They got to the NCAA tournament. I trust in the staff to find a way via the portal and with returning players to get this team back to the NCAA tournament next year.
This is not something new for Dutch. Like, expecting this to happen is probably something that he and his coaching staff talked about. I believe in Dutch.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego, Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We will have Brian Dutcher, not his show, but we'll have Brian Dutcher join us coming up at 4 p.m. Brent brought up a great point off air. He's like, you spend more time promoting the Brian Dutcher show when we don't have a Brian Dutcher show than when we do have a Brian Dutcher show.
Yeah, I don't know why my brain is telling me to say, and the Brian Dutcher show is tonight at 6 p.m. I don't know why. And I don't even have that written down. I'm just saying it. I literally have right here. And Brian Dutcher joins us today at 4 p.m. So
what about the show?
So I don't have and the Brian Dutcher show. I just have and Brian Dutcher. I don't know. My brain is fried. It's only Tuesday.
I want to get back to the Padres and the phones in a moment. If you want to weigh in about the roster or payroll or TV, and Dave's ears must have perked up about TV. We'll get you 1 second. We'll get you 1 second, Dave. You can call us at 877-767-4760. But you mentioned Dutch, and I wanted to ask you this 24 hours later. Does any of your opinion change on Guath and Boyd when you truly see the way this is playing out? Now, you're a show me the sausage, not how it's made guy. You haven't watched all 1,000 names come in the transfer portal.
Like you?
Like I have. I've seen every name. But when you see someone like the starting point guard at UNC, Elliot Cadeau, who had 12 assists, 1 turnover against San Diego State, or 12 assists, no turnovers, go into the transfer portal, and there's a zillion other players. Donovan Dent. Thank
player
you.
Of the year,
Player of the year. Yeah. When you see names like that, Cadeau, Dent, Guath, Boyd, does it change at all your opinion on, quote unquote, losing some of these players, knowing that it is truly happening everywhere, including at the bluest of blue bloods, North Carolina?
It just sucks to see.
And more of a reflection on the sport.
Yeah, but it also isn't just singularly pointed here at San Diego. Like, the spotlight isn't just on the Aztecs for losing these guys in the transfer portal. I think it's almost should be applauded that you could potentially retain Miles Bird and BJ Davis and Reese Waters and guys like Farrell Compton and Taj DeGorville. Those are still to be determined. But you know what I mean? If you retain those guys, it's almost,
you feel pretty good.
It's almost like a win, even though you lost arguably I'm not gonna say your best player, but the guy with the most potential to be the best player.
And the thing is, you really don't know who you've lost until the portal closes. Like, you just kind of cross your fingers, right? We'll talk to Brian Dutcher about that coming up at 4 p.m. All right, let's go to the phones. Back to the Padres. 877-767-4760. Dave, we appreciate it. Happy almost opening day, and you're back on with Jon and Jim.
Yeah, same back to you guys. And we got 162 coming, so it'll give us a whole lot more to talk about than some of the other stuff. But having said that, getting back, on the TV thing, and thank you, Jim, for acknowledging, the problem that has been the 800-pound gorilla. Back to what Matt was talking about. Look, it's not just the numbers that you see, as you pointed out in front of you. It's about advertising revenue too. For example, if you turn on the Yankees broadcast sometime, and I've had the chance to do that last year, just hit it accidentally on the satellite. It takes them 10 minutes to get through all of their advertisers. Literally. It's an amazing long list, and you're like, come on, let's get to the game. But when you get to the Padres, what do you got? You got Saquon. You got a few others. Saquon was the one that was bankrolling the television ad last year on MLB, and there was nothing else coming up on advertising. When you get into that broadcast, it was then they would cut away to these other little MLB clips. So it's not just the size of the population or the other things that you think about, size of the city, what have you. It's the market ability to raise advertising revenue, and that's where it really falls short. Now, the one question I want to leave you with, that I've not heard asked relative to John Seidler or the new group or continuation group, we all know that when the Padres were bought by Seidler and Fowler, that was at the beginning or near beginning of the $60 million contract TV. Now that is gone, so the real question is, does this ownership have the deep pockets ability to backfill the money? Because as you said, Jim, you can't replace $60 million with other things that are out there because we're tapped out. We've hit the high water mark on the fans. We've done our part. So does this ownership group, however many there are they willing to dip into their pockets and bankroll the shortcoming?
Thanks for the call, Dave.
Appreciate it. Okay, here's the thing. When you lose tens of millions of dollars of revenue, there is no way to make up for that. You don't sell more kids club memberships. You don't parade little leagues around the warning track and make up for $60 million in lost revenue. No. Like I read Kevin's article today. All the events they do at Gallagher Square, they do an amazing job. Yeah. They have huge concerts, huge events at Petco. You've seen concerts there. Those events provide roughly $20 million in revenue for the Padres. $20 million. We're talking about a $60 million TV deal that was ripped out from underneath them. And all those concerts and all those amazing events that they have in that ballpark, and they do an amazing job of it, not 365 days a year, but close to it. And that is garnering them another $20 million or so per year. The point is there's certain things you don't make up for. Like I'm trying to use another analogy. I mean, if your home loses 50% of its value because of the market, you're never getting it back. You know how long it takes to get back your home value? If there's a 2008 housing crisis, it takes forever. You never get it back. The TV money's gone. They're never getting it back. How are they ever going to get that money back? They're going to sell more jerseys? I mean, what's the math on it?
I don't know. That's why I'm not good with numbers.
I know, but what's the math? We're going to sell more kids clubs. Let's charge it $100 for a hot dog.
Does the average fan even care?
About what?
About
Padres?
No, not the Padres. But the stuff that we're talking about right now, the money and the business side.
I think with baseball and the Padres they do. Because I think people understand that if they are profitable or successful, then they can invest in their team.
Here's how people will start caring more. And I don't know if this is a typo. I saw this, but if it affects the fans' game day experience to the point where it costs $200, $300, $400 for a family to go to just one game,
but it does.
I know, but I'm saying, nachos this year allegedly are $49.
No, that's not accurate.
Don't push that. That can't be accurate, right?
That might be some special Nacho Supreme Spectacular. They're not selling at the little stands you walk up to. Hey, how much for a soft pretzel? $8. How much for nachos? $49.95. They're not $49.
But that's got to be a typo.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
But I think once and this has already happened. You're right. You're absolutely right. This is costing fans an arm and a leg. It's ridiculous.
I've gone on my own dime before with Kristen Jones, and it costs hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, that's why I'm very thankful for the people that I know at Petco Park. Right. I'm very, very thankful for those people and guys like Rich McGuire who, offer us to come sit down with him and whatnot. And also being in the media if they ever gave us credentials. But the average fan, I guess you're right. They do.
Monday night. Let's just do it.
They do care about that.
Let's do it. Monday night, Cleveland. First Monday of the year.
$95 for upper level.
No, upper level get in is $50 a seat. I don't know what it is after the convenience fees, but now we're $150 in for a family of 3. That's me, my wife, and a child. Let's say a family of 4, though. You're $200 in on tickets. That's the cheapest ticket plus convenience fees. Let's add another 20%. you're at 240. Put another $40 for parking, you're 280. Food and merchandise, let's just say $100. It seems light. It's 380 for a family of four, Jim. That's cheap. That's upstairs.
I know.
So that's where we are now. I don't know about the $49 nachos you're eating.
Yeah. I mean,
those are like gold nachos.
It is what it is. I mean, prices of things are going to go up. Prices of things are always going to go up. Yep. Things are going to cost money to go to. So maybe people do give a crap more than I think they might about the business side. Like that piece today that Kevin wrote for Eric Grupner. Here, I said that. He wrote for Eric Grupner.
on Eric
Grupner, but for him.
Right.
Like I don't know. Are people looking like, dude, did you read the new Kevin Acee piece on the business side of the Padres?
I think people are curious because I think people want to know what kind of revenue do they create? Do they spend it? How much can they spend? How much is payroll dependent on turnstile? Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, it's not like the sexiest conversation. Like Padres created 1.8% more revenue this year.
It's
not sexy. It's not as cool as Machado homering twice on opening day.
Yeah, I'll take that over anything else.
Over any
contract extensions or new players or trades.
But like real quick though, like on the money, because money matters in baseball. Like you got to sell a lot of $49 nachos, Jim, even at $49 to make up for the loss of a TV deal.
I
don't think that's right.
If it is right, I need to see what these $49 nachos
tag us on like Thursday.
Buy the $49 nachos.
Where did you see that? In that release on What's New?
Yeah. You want to talk about
the PDF?
You want to talk about mini donuts for an hour?
No, I don't.
You want to talk about nachos for an hour?
I'm not talking about everything.
You want to talk about the new slushies for an hour?
No, I really don't. I really don't. But I don't want to talk about $49 nachos either.
Well, I just saw it and I'm like, wait, what?
I'm kidding.
$49 nachos? That's got to be a typo, right? It's got to be. Has to be.
Let me boil it down to this real quick. Because you're right. People don't care if they're selling 10% more hot dogs. Right? Let me boil it down to this. Because you made this point earlier, and this is the point. The winning assures their attendance.
100%.
But they can't guarantee winning.
100%.
Now, in the short term, maybe you have a better chance to win than lose because they have a good roster. Mm-hmm. They've had success this decade. It hasn't always been. They've had bad years this decade, but they've had good years this decade. What does happen, to your point? Almost every organization goes through this, maybe outside of one or two. I mean, the Dodgers have been good for forever. Yankees, by and large, have been pretty good. In terms of fielding a winning team.
Not having to worry about
going 68 and 94.
And also not having to worry about like, oh, we don't have any money.
Yeah, that too. But I'm just saying, like, you're right. Like, if you build it, they will come only applies to having a consistent winner. What happens when they have a year and a half that's down? Can they sustain that? When the next time they have a year and a half downturn on field, will they draw enough to support their payroll?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question.
Yeah, or more.
And that's why this year is such a big year, because the uncertainty of next season, the uncertainty of the future. We still don't know what type of guy John Seidler is going to be. You know, he's talked one time to Kevin. Right. He released a looked like a chat GPT type of message to the fans today, to season ticket holders.
Yeah, like, do we truly believe he wrote that?
No, I don't. And I said this when, you know, the article came out with him and Acee. Let's just kind of hold off here, guys, for a little bit until we actually see what type of person John's going to be. And oh, by the way, we still got to get through and see what happens with this lawsuit. Like, that's still out there, right? With Shield. So
good point.
Let's just kind of hold off on thinking that this guy's awesome and great because he said a couple nice things about the Padres. I need to see actions and saying things like, man, I've seen the fans and they're great. Okay, so have I.
Yeah, we're going to continue that conversation on the other side. There's something he actually can do to prove what he wrote today to season ticket holders in advance of 2025. We'll share that on the other side. Brian Dutcher, Aztecs head coach. Do not go anywhere. He'll join us at 4 p.m. Plus, we have Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan tickets to give away May 15th in San Diego. Stay with us. All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760 with you until 6 p.m. Did you realize that, Jim? We're here until 6 p.m. today.
Well, I mean, considering the fact that we do a show from 2 to 6, yeah,
I know, but
that.
Sometimes we don't do a show until 6. I'll give you an example.
Thursday,
Last week, we had the NCAA tournament. We didn't even do shows.
Friday.
This Friday, we're going from 2 to 4 because
Correct.
of the Sweet 16. This Thursday, we've got the special start time because we're broadcasting, getting you ready for opening day from 11 to 2
Correct.
with the 1:10 start time.
Correct.
So we'll be here from 11 to 2 from downtown. But today we're here until 6. Brian Dutcher will join us coming up at 4 p.m.
Mhm.
What's your big question for Dutch? Okay. You got some questions.
Who are you going to get in the portal?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, here are the 3 guys we're down to. I don't think we're going to get specifics on portal, which opened, a day ago?
The obvious ones. How surprised were you about Nick Boyd, Magoon Guath?
Well, I think can't be that surprising, can it?
He even said, he's like, this in this world of college athletics, nothing surprises you anymore. But I do feel like there had to be at least some surprise for Nick Boyd. I don't think Magoon Guath, but for Nick Boyd especially, for how vocal he was about returning next year, and then damn near less than a week later, you're out.
Do you think, or will you ask the question on Boyd that he kind of implied he'd be back for a second year publicly?
Mm-hmm.
Did he do that privately as well? Was your expectation he would be here for 2 years when you signed him via the portal, or was it year to year? It's like, what's the saying on SportsCenter? We're all day to day.
Everybody's day to day.
Everyone's day to day in sports, just like now everyone in college athletics is year to year.
Every day I'm questionable.
Yeah, exactly. Every day. Seriously, I wake up, I'm like, my back hurts.
Right.
And my back really hurts.
Maybe you should
today.
go to a chiropractor.
I'm going to need to go to
Probably
a chiropractor.
What are you going to ask Dutch?
I've written about 15 questions here.
I just wing it.
No, I don't want you to wing it. We got questions. We have questions.
But what's the one thing
you know what I want to know?
What?
Football just hired a GM, general manager, because it's so transactional, right?
Yeah.
Is basketball going to do the same? Can you deal with all of this if you're Dutch and his staff? How much film are you watching on the portal? It's like 2,000 guys. How much time is there in a day? So how do you watch the film? How do you negotiate the contract? How do you speak with the agent? How do you speak with the player? Steve Kerr's not sitting there breaking down the G League roster.
No, that's the GM's job.
Yeah, because it's a big business.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm
I'm
sure.
not saying it's the NBA, but it's a big business.
Yeah. Another thing too is,
Okay.
do you agree with the take that the NIL is killing March Madness and the quote unquote Cinderellas? Do you agree with that take?
Is NIL killing Cinderella?
No, I don't consider the Aztecs a Cinderella.
No, neither do I.
Or they have put themselves into not the upper echelon of college basketball, but they are not definitely closer to the bottom of the
They've
majors.
been knocking on that damn door of the upper echelon, and they keep getting pushed down by forces outside of their control, like NIL and transfer.
And once you make a national championship game, you're pretty good. You just got to make sure you continue that run. Teams schools like Butler, right, making back-to-back national championship games. When was the last time you heard from Butler?
Fair, although they are in the Big East, so it had its advantages. But you're right, and I also feel like if San Diego State made its national championship game appearance in 2013, not 2023, what impact would that have had? Because that was in advance of the portal,
right? And
you would have been reloading via recruiting with 3, 4, 5 year players. Where now, winning matters, but Dutch has been quoted by Mark Ziegler here twice with Boyd and Guath. What matters more than money right now in college athletics?
Nothing.
Which is basically the world.
I could be the coach. If
I could be the coach.
No,
Tell
seriously.
Dutch.
If I could be the coach. If you're going to offer this kid $2 million, kid will take the $2 million.
Right,
over
you're
the
saying
coach.
you can get the player.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a quote today. So Maryland is in the Sweet 16. They beat Colorado State, and that buzzer beater, the only one of the tournament.
Yes, John.
He's like, I got players coming to me on my roster saying I need 2 to 3. And that there's going to be the top of the Power 4 is going to be $10 million in NIL. $10 million. What are the? It's not to the point of an NBA team, obviously, but it's just crazy. $10 million, $2 to $3 million for a player at the University of Maryland.
Here's another question for Dutch.
All right, let's hear it.
in your opinion, has this thing got out of hand?
Right. I mean, he said it with us.
I mean, Dutch is not going to go,
right.
Over the line and like me and you would, but I'm curious to know his true feelings. Has this thing gotten out of hand?
He has said it essentially, Jim, because he has said how sustainable is no salary cap, unlimited transfers. And how do you graduate anyone?
You don't.
How can you go to 5 universities in 5 years and expect like all your credits to carry over for majors? That doesn't exist.
The only way you graduate somebody is if you have a transfer senior, like Jared Coleman.
You come in and you need 12 credits to graduate.
Yeah, or Wayne McKinney or Kimo Ferrari. I think did Kimo already graduate?
Yeah, he's a graduate of Brown.
Yeah, so he's graduated.
Doing postgraduate studies.
That's what it was.
San Diego State.
But still, like your point, you're not going to have somebody stay in school for 4 years again, especially good players.
What about real quick? Not for Dutch, and I want to say they might have touched on this today. Fletch and Sammy. It was at least like in their what they were going to talk about, but I was listening and I didn't hear them talk about it. But maybe they did. Like, what about this narrative out there? You've seen some of the sentiment, Jim, on social media, and maybe you have, maybe you haven't, with Aztec fans, and people are so down. Like, oh my gosh, it's a feeder program. This is AAA. They'll never be back. You lost Magoon Guath. Woe is me.
Season over.
Like what is that?
Program.
Like, what is that? They've been to the tournament 6 straight years. They were in a title game 3 years ago, a Sweet 16 2 years ago, and now it's over.
Well, that's what happens.
What kind of mentality is that?
Well, it's because fans are upset. And so once you're upset, I feel like you just go to a place where you don't really truly mean those words, but that's the first thing that comes to your mind. San Diego State basketball will have another season next year, guys. They're not going to just fold it up and decide not to play basketball again.
Right. Like, so should North Carolina drop basketball because their starting point guard is in the portal? It's just weird. And I appreciate the fandom. It's way better than the opposite. Like, imagine Magoon Guath goes in the portal. Crickets.
Like RJ Davis for North Carolina. That's a credit to him and North Carolina for him to be there for as long as he was.
Which I think was 5 years.
Still, he did not transfer.
Yeah, it is a credit.
Stayed there and, graduated. But I don't think, especially good players, you're going to see them in the mid majors be at a college for 4 years and graduate and develop there. You're just not, because it's almost like, I'm not going to say the minors, but it kind of feels a little bit like in baseball when you have a player on I'll just use Paul Skeens as an example, right? Paul Skeens, he's with the Pirates right now. He develops, turns into a Cy Young Award pitcher.
Yep.
The Pirates can't afford to keep him. He goes to free agency. He goes to the Yankees. It's kind of like how it is in college athletics, where it's like if a kid like Magoon Guath is at a school like San Diego State, develops, and then San Diego State can't afford to keep him, and he goes to like Kentucky.
Counterpoint: Tampa has never spent like the Orioles, that example, but they've won at a higher clip
because they develop. They've.
My point is,
had to go a
always
different route.
Schulte, winners find solutions.
Yeah, Schulte, come on, man.
I mean, so there's a way to do it. It's just maybe the way you did it in 2010 is going to change in 2025. Dutch will join us coming up at 4 p.m. We've got those Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson tickets to give away May 15th here in San Diego. Back to the Padres getting ready for opening day against the Braves on Thursday at 1:10 here on Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Opening day is just 2 days away. Thursday, 1:10 p.m. Michael King against Chris Sale. Just a reminder, we will be downtown at Sidebar for our opening day broadcast. To make your way down to Petco Park, come on by and say hi. And Brian Dutcher joins us today at 4 p.m. to talk about the transfer portal and much more. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at progressive.com. That's progressive.com.
All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. We started the show talking about Jackson Merrill, who spoke with Dennis Lin, and there were quotes in there from AJ Preller about the Padres' desire, obviously, to keep Merrill in a Padres uniform long term. What are you laughing at?
Sorry.
What is it?
We talked about this the other day when I did my routine video, and Ashton Hall, who has become a viral sensation.
Right.
He is now officially trolling everybody with his new videos that he's posting.
Okay.
I know you don't care or unaware. Everybody cares.
No one listening cares.
Okay.
If you care, 70470 started with 10.
Okay.
Let's see those texts flooded.
Okay.
Of people that care. So we started the show talking about Jackson Merrill, right? And not Ashton Hall, believe it or not. You should start Ashton Hall channel on YouTube. You need to start a viral channel. Every trend that occurs, you would be an amazing 13-year-old girl.
I hate you.
I mean, would he not, Brent?
13.
Dude, you'd be a problem as a 13-year-old girl.
As a girl, yes, I would be a problem.
You'd be a problem just in general.
I would.
13-year-old.
I would. Well, if I was a 13-year-old forever, I would be a problem. You'd be a problem. If I was a girl, I'd be a problem too. And if I was a 13-year-old girl, I mean, we should not use a 13-year-old girl as an example for what I would be a problem as.
Why?
I don't know. It doesn't sound right.
It doesn't. But you get my point.
What other trend do you want me to do? You want me to do dancing trends and stuff?
That's what I'm saying. I could see you doing all of them if you were like a teenage girl.
Dude, the amount of time that I spent yesterday doing that,
How much time did it take?
Actually didn't take long, but it just was after I was done. I was like, how do people do this every single
all that
day?
Work for 2,500 views?
Well, I got 20,000+ on X.
Oh, dude, I don't trust the X views, man.
What do you mean?
I do not. That's like X says we have 10,000 people watching our show. Give me a break. Nobody watching.
I trust it for something. This Ashton Hall first video had 700 million. You think that's fake?
No, I think that's maybe real. But like, for example, are you streaming the show today from Jim Russell?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so at Jim Russell, you're streaming the show right now. And the stream says right now 357 viewers. I don't buy it.
Okay.
Do you?
No.
Who sits on Twitter and views shows?
Not a lot.
I don't. I'll listen to audio sometimes on Twitter.
Yeah. But also, I do think that I don't know, man. I don't know the algorithm or numbers.
Either do I.
I just put it out there. I see the numbers. I see it growing, and I continue to put it out there.
Okay.
That's what I do.
815. What is Ashton Hall?
Okay.
Again,
I just view it as there are 700 million views for that thing, and it's gone beyond viral. And I just thought it was funny. And
it is, but I'm trying to say, like,
he is now fully aware of the fame that he has now garnered, even though he had millions of followers to begin with.
And he's taking advantage of viewers and followers because he's like trolling.
He is now doing videos, and he is going to the extreme, which I appreciate. I honestly do. So
are you going to come out with new videos to match his extremities?
Honestly, it's done with now. Like I'm seeing teams kind of push their limit here and kind of killing it. I'm like, okay, guys, it's over with. It's done.
It's done.
Like this happened, I think Friday of last week, and it had a shelf life of probably yesterday.
And that was the end.
And that's the end. But I still see accounts and sports teams accounts posting these memes and saying things, like starting our routine in the day.
You know what this is, Brent? This is like, and this is where you and I differ. And I respect you because it's like you fill a void that I wouldn't be able to fill. But this is where
Jim gets. Show.
What's that?
We need one of those people on our show.
Well, yeah, because Jim is the guy that says, "Hey, Padres, why don't you tweet about the San Diego Wave?" I had a point to make with that, and I'm like, "Well, because who cares? Why does American Bank tweet Happy July 4th?" You know, like certain things are for certain. If Ashton Hall is popular with 18-year-olds or 45-year-olds, that's great. But I'm just saying, as in that's an area that I just don't. You fill that void.
I do. Yeah, I do. I don't think there will ever be a day when we come in here and you're like, dude, did you see this viral trend?
Correct.
Yeah, you'll never.
And that's why I don't care, because I know you'll tell me if I need to say it. And truthfully, whatever you've told me about, I've never. There hasn't been one trend you've ever told me about in the 4 years we've done this show that has changed my life in any way.
Well, that's not the point. I'm not saying to change your life.
I know.
I'm just saying we are in the content game, correct?
Don't get me started on the content game.
What? I'm just saying we're in the game. We're in the content business.
You're right.
And how can we take what's a viral trend and then twist it and then use it to our benefit?
Okay, so this would be like if Taylor Swift is really popular right now. We should tag Taylor Swift and see if she's
I'm not saying that stupid logic that we've heard before.
Right.
What I'm saying is if there was a viral thing out there,
right,
how can we, like I said, twist it and use it to our gain and make it down the sports avenue?
Let me ask you this. Do you think come Thursday, when the Padres play on opening day?
No.
What's the no-so?
That they'll tweet out the Ashton Hall thing?
No, but do you think that other teams you'll see from the Wave and the San Diego FCs of the world and the Gulls?
I think STFC has already tweeted out something
about the Padres before opening day. They're already ready?
Yeah, I think they did. They were like, they tweeted out a video of all the Padre players at their game being like, good luck on the season, guys.
Okay, so they've already done that.
I think they did that, yeah.
Okay. But are you expecting this slew of social media messaging from other sports franchises on Thursday in the direction of the San Diego Padres?
I do.
Okay.
Think that you will see
Wave, FC,
goals. I think, yeah.
Okay.
I think teams in town.
All right, I'm excited.
Maybe the Seals.
Bookmark them. Because then we can reference them on Friday, all the teams that shouted out the Padres, to congratulate them on their.
Well, one thing I do know is there won't be any creative things from the Padres on Thursday.
What do you mean?
You know what
socially?
Yeah, socially.
No,
I mean, you know what's funny?
Who do you think's throwing out first pitch?
I sent this to you the other day. I sent it to you that there's a job opening.
Oh, you should apply
to be the Padres social media manager.
You'd be great. You'd have Ashton Hall on day one, throw out the first pitch.
Well, I would at least keep up with trends, but
I'm trying to see. You would at least keep up with. I'm trying to see if they have announced who is throwing out their first pitch. Because I got this release.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did get it.
Must be nice.
Thursday's pregame ceremony will feature pageantry, unfurling.
Where'd you get this?
I get every single release from them. I think they took you off the list, if I was guessing.
Probably.
AJ Raphael, a Southern California native with over 1 million Spotify and YouTube subs, will perform the national anthem.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Who?
AJ Raphael. And we'll have God Bless America in the 7th inning. But I don't see who's going to do first pitch. Any guesses on first pitch?
John Seidler.
Maybe.
No, I don't know.
But I'm thinking like a Padre legend.
PV.
Yeah, maybe. Isn't he back with the organization?
He is.
Did you talk about that last week? I feel like I might have been off.
Because we were off.
Okay, but that happened last week.
Yeah.
Special advisor, maybe?
Yeah, it's one of those just like
makes sense.
Welcome back to the organization.
I'm cool with it.
You're a special advisor, but you're also going to be on MLB TV doing your stuff.
Right. Oh, so he's keeping that.
He is.
He's going to do that as well.
I don't think he's going to be helping AJ Preller with any trades or signings.
Right. Exactly. All right. On the other side, back to Jackson Merrill. Can the Padres afford to wait out an extension on Merrill? Was the premise of an article earlier today from Dennis Lin in The Athletic, if you missed it. Plus, coming up at 4 p.m., Aztecs head coach, men's basketball, Brian Dutcher, 8 seasons in as head coach on the Mesa. He will join us to talk about this transfer portal window that is open. Plus, coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, your chance to win tickets to see Bob Dylan with Willie Nelson. This will be May 15th, North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater. By the way, tickets are available at Ticketmaster.com. But in the 4 o'clock hour, we've got Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan tickets. Coming up at 4 p.m., Brian Dutcher will join us. Can the Padres afford to wait on Jackson Merrill? We've got the very latest next on Jon and Jim. Jon and Jim, Brian Dutcher in 15 minutes, head coach of the Aztecs. Transfer portal open for the next 29 days, which means we'll be refreshing Twitter for the next 29 days. Dutch will join us coming up in 15 minutes. We have Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson tickets to give away.
See, I was thinking about this. We do have a really good yin and yang because
I worry about things that you don't worry about, and you worry about things that I don't worry about.
Correct.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Completely
So I
agree.
bring stuff to the table that you don't care about, and you bring stuff to the table I care about. Just I'm not obsessing over like you are, like the transfer.
Right.
portal.
Like you're not going to lead a show by talking about like the Sunbelt 6 men of the year being in the portal.
No,
which
I
is
will not.
probably a good thing.
Yeah.
No, I won't either.
You could give me a million guesses, and I wouldn't guess.
In
who
my
it was.
head, I would lead that show. Like if I was doing a show in my head,
If you could do
a show in my head,
just a show that is just solely for
like
John
a
Schaefer.
podcast.
No, a radio show
Yeah.
that is just solely for you and nobody else.
Right. What would I talk about?
What would you lead with every day? Probably.
Well, every day would depend. I
What would you-
would talk a ton of Padres.
What would you? No, this is for you.
No, but I would talk a ton of Padres. I'm a baseball guy. At the
I
end
know
of the
I
day.
am too. I
So
love
like
baseball.
that's like my true background is baseball. But
Today it would definitely
it
be
would
transfer
be portal. I'd be
Yeah.
talking portal.
Yeah.
Portal, man.
Portal.
We're talking about portal.
Portal.
I'd be like, what's your
walking
favorite
everywhere.
type of portal? I'd like be going to ChatGPT and asking about different portals.
Portals?
We're talking about portals.
It's like when you say portals, I think of Portals, the scene from Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, me too.
The portal scene.
That's what I think about.
Yeah. The portals have opened. And
I don't know what
Spider-Man
you're
has come
talking
out. He's transferring.
I don't know what we're talking about. This was Jackson Merrill to Dennis Lynn.
We're getting loopy and it's only
It's only
3:47.
3 o'clock. This is Jackson Merrill. Brian Dutcher will join us in 13 minutes. Don't go anywhere. If you have a question for Dutch, we might ask it. 70470. Start it with the word team if you have a
might.
question. Merrill today to Dennis Lynn. I want to be here long term. I don't care about thee. And then he rephrased, I care about the money for sure. I know my value and my worth. I'm not oblivious. I want to be here, but I'm not going to try and screw them and take all their money. I mean, you can't be. He's kind of saying the silent part out loud. Like, you probably should be careful with what you're saying if you're Jackson Merrill, but he's made it pretty clear, has he not, over the last year plus in the major leagues? Jackson Merrill wants to be a San Diego Padre. I mean, that doesn't guarantee he'll be here for the remainder of his career, but can you say it any more bluntly than that? I didn't hear Juan Soto talking like that in DC. I didn't hear Juan Soto talking like that in New York or San Diego.
But words are words. I need to see action.
From the organization.
Yeah, from the organization. From guys like, I don't know, John Seidler. You know,
He's
you
been on
really,
the job for like a week.
you really want to make a mark to start out your tenure here. You get a deal done with Jackson Merrill. Now, I think the likelihood of that happening anytime soon is probably like 0%.
Right.
But you get my point. The words that are spoken by whoever it is, Jackson or the team. Okay. But until I actually see a tweet saying the Padres are nearing an extension with Jackson Merrill, these are just words and these things can change so quickly. We just saw it with Nick Boyd, different circumstances, but my point still remains. You can say one thing, but until the actions are met with what you're talking about, it's just noise.
This to me is actually more than noise. The only question is, what is it going to cost? Like, I think it's a little foolish to be like, Padres are going to lose Merrill because he's going to cost too much. They can't afford to keep him. It's going to be a $300 million contract. He's going to walk. Like, I think it's way too premature to say something like that after 1 year. I think it's much more likely, what do the dollar figures look like when they come to terms with Merrill? And if they do it now, what does it cost them? And if they do it in 2 years from now, what does it cost them? That's my question. Like, what is he going to make? What's his extension going to look like? Like, I really don't envision, Jim, some world where Jackson Merrill isn't here. I mean, maybe I'm naive, but
I hope not, because this kid is everything you want in a baseball player. Everything.
Mhm.
Attitude, the way he plays, just his enthusiasm for the game, saying, a lot of this stuff can be kind of viewed as eyewash. Like, I'm going to stay in the dugout during a minor league game with my bros. Like, okay, a little bit of eyewash
But
to
I
me.
kind of think it's genuine.
But I do also, you're right. I think
Yeah.
it is genuine too. I think that's just how he's built. Other players, you could definitely say, oh, dude, this is eyewash.
Right.
Right. Maybe there's a little of that with Jackson. We'll see how long that lasts. Right.
Mhm.
But I do think more often than not, he's very genuine with what he says, even though it might come off as eyewashy. Dude is all about ball. And he wakes up in the morning, does his morning routine, and then gets to the ballpark as fast as he can because all he wants to do is just play baseball. And if you aren't going to make sure that player and that person isn't a part of your organization for a long, long time, then that's on you, Padres.
I think it's interesting they went to him before he ever appeared in the major leagues, tried to get an extension done. That speaks to what the organization thought of him. And that speaks to what he and his agent deemed their value to be at the time. And they basically said no. Because if you're having conversations, you're not just like, okay, let's talk about it. They were probably presented with something. Hey, what do you think about the Churios deal? What do you think about who was the kid for the Diamondbacks that signed center fielder?
Oh, Corbin Carroll.
Corbin Carroll. Like they were probably presented with some options. And they probably said, okay, well, let's continue these conversations down the road. But imagine that. You're 19 or 20. You haven't appeared in the big leagues. You come up as a middle infielder. And the Padres organization comes to you like, listen, let's get right to brass taxes. 8 for 80. You haven't even touched the big leagues. You're 20. Someone's offering you 8 for 80. And you're like, nah, I'll bet on myself. Isn't that basically what played out? What else would have happened? If the Padres went to him about an extension and they haven't yet come to terms on an extension, isn't that us learning that Merrill and his agent didn't deem that to be the right dollar figure as of yet?
I also don't think it was that serious.
So it was just like Subway sandwiches, like, hey, let's meet up and talk?
Maybe. If it was serious, I think they would have gotten something done.
You think?
If the Padres were serious,
Put something in front of them.
Yeah, if the Padres were serious about this and they really wanted to get something done, it obviously takes two to tango here. But like, if they were serious about this, I think you could have gotten something done.
Well, then wouldn't it make, like, what's that show, The Biggest Loser? Wouldn't that make the Padres the biggest loser?
Only if they do not sign Jackson in the next 5 years, yes.
But if they could have done it when he was 20 and nobody knows the future. So you could have given someone $80 million. Scott Kingery comes to mind with the Phillies. They gave him $60 million. He never played.
But that's also, that's looking at this in hindsight.
Right.
Like, if you're the Padres, in hindsight, you wish you would have pushed harder.
Yeah.
But also, at that moment in time, what questions were we having about Jackson?
Yeah, like, is this guy a middle infielder? Is he going to hit for power? Is he a everyday major leaguer?
And there would be no way if the Padres signed Jackson Merrill, we would come on the air that day and being like, this is an amazing steal of a deal.
You're right.
We would have a lot of questions, as we already did.
Yeah, you're right.
So, like, hindsight is great to look at here. But also, I think you have to maybe applaud the Padres in that moment for not doing something just because they really like this kid without having one at bat in the big leagues. Should
they do it with any of these kids right now? Top 2 prospects in the organization?
No, they shouldn't.
So, but then you're basically not betting on your development or your investment.
You're being smart.
Maybe.
You're kind of like...
But Salas comes up and all of a sudden your $80 million investment becomes $180 million.
Yeah, and there have been times when, like, the Tampa Bay Rays have signed players before.
Yep.
And it hasn't really worked out for them, but you get my point. There have been times where they have signed players before they got to the big leagues.
Right.
I just look at it as you are risking a lot.
You're right.
If you sign a guy before he has one at bat in the big leagues to a big time deal.
And it doesn't pan out.
Because if it doesn't pan out, oof. I'd much rather be safe in these situations and have to pay a little more than, like, if let's just use a number, $80 million, right, for Jackson Merrill. Sign him to
let's say they could have had him at one point for 80. Let's just make it up. 8 years, $80 million.
8 years, $80 million. Okay. Yeah, hindsight right now, that would be a steal of a deal.
Right.
But if now Jackson Merrill wants,
let's say
150, I think I have to be okay with that because yes, you're gonna have to pay more, but you also know you're paying for a guy that's good.
Right. You know what you're getting.
You know what you're getting with the guy instead of paying a guy sight unseen, even though you've seen him in the minors, you have a projection of what he could be, but still you don't really know until you see it.
Sure. Brian Dutcher, Aztecs head coach. Transfer portal is open. Magoon Guath is in it. Nick Boyd as well. What's next for San Diego State? Dutch joins us next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Breaking news in the NFL. The New York Giants have signed another quarterback, John. This time They're signing Russell Wilson to a 1-year deal worth up to $21 million with $10.5 million guaranteed. Moving over to the Padres. We're just 2 days away from opening day, Thursday afternoon, 1:10 first pitch at Petco Park. It will be Michael King versus Chris Sale. Just a reminder, we will be downtown at Sidebar with our opening day broadcast. As you're making your way to opening day, come on by and say hi. We start our broadcast at a special time of 11 a.m. And Brian Dutcher joins the show coming up next. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at progressive.com. That's progressive.com.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim with you until 6 p.m. And as promised, Brian Dutcher, head coach of the Aztecs, back with us right now on the home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. And Dutch, first of all, we always appreciate it. And we know you're only a week into your offseason. It's hard to believe that a week ago tonight was the first 4 in Dayton. And you've talked about going from coach to general manager this time of year. So what has this week been like? We know the portal's open. We've seen the news, obviously, on Nick Boyd and Magoon Guath. What is it like in your seat in this new era, going from coach to GM? And thanks for hopping on.
Thanks, John, for having me. It's the new normal, and you can't overreact to it. You got to know that it's happening to every team everywhere in the country. And the Mountain West is not exempt to it. Nick Davidson in the portal, Donovan Dent in Washington from New Mexico in the portal, Boyd and Guath in the portal. It's what it is. The starting point guard from North Carolina, who we just played in the portal. And as soon as these Sweet 16 teams are done, they'll have kids in the portal. And so is it ideal for college basketball? No, probably not. But is it what is normal at this time? Yes, it is.
I wanted to ask about Nick Boyd. We had Nick on our show multiple times this year, Dutch, and I remember we had him on before your guys' run in March Madness, where I asked him, are you going to return next year? What's your thinking? And a lot of times it was kind of down the path of he was returning. Like there was a lot of wheeze when Nick Boyd was talking about with his decision for next year, staying here with the Aztecs. And he even mentioned at his press conference at in Dayton that, we'll be back. And so when he came to you and he said he was entering the transfer portal, at any point, did you feel a little misled by Nick or surprised, or what was your first initial reaction when Nick said he was entering the portal to you?
I've been doing it long enough where nothing surprises me.
Mm-hmm.
I was intending to have Nick back next year. I thought he would be back. But when all of a sudden you have a chance to maybe make more money playing basketball in 1 year than you will the rest of your career, then you say, well, okay, I understand why he may have left. So it had nothing to do with their culture, nothing to do with him loving San Diego State. But financially, he may not be able to play for this amount of money the rest of his career. And so he has a number that he thinks he's going to get. Obviously, people had been monitoring it. And when the season ended, they brought him some numbers, and he obviously felt they were too good to turn down.
Brian Dutcher, head coach of the Aztecs, with us right now on Jon and Jim. We'll get into the dollars and cents of this world that we're in with Portal and NIL and the matching campaign going on with Mesa as well. I mentioned the fact that you kind of go from coach to GM, and you've touched on that. Are we at a point, and we've seen it in college athletics, we've seen it in basketball. I think Sean Lewis just hired a GM in football. Are we at a point where a general manager is becoming a prerequisite or a necessity for a program or not?
I think the finances are more important than the general manager.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be the GM of the Dodgers, and I'll find a way to put a team together. The GM's important, but you got to have some finances to get it done. But that's not everything, John. I try to tell people, just because some of these guys run around in the NBA and they got NBA logos, doesn't mean they know a player if he bit him in the butt. At some level, you still have to evaluate talent. You have to put a team together. You have to put a culture together in order to win. And so I think we're good at all those things. I have a coaching staff that knows how to evaluate talent, that knows how to put a team together. Once we get them here, we know what it takes to win. And the rosters are just flipping more often than we're used to. But everybody's dealing with it, and I think we've dealt with it pretty well. A year ago, we lost 92% of our scoring, 90% of our minutes, and yet we're in the NCAA tournament again. And so we're good at what we do. Do we like it all the time? No, absolutely not. But are we good at it? Yes, we are.
Do you feel like it's gotten a little bit out of hand here with the NIL and the portal?
I think players are deserving of some of the money they're getting. Do I think it's exorbitant and too much? Yes. And that's why some of these lawsuits are working their way through. I think there'll be some leveling, some, I don't know if you would say salary cap, but some type of salary cap that'll be put into place where we're just not throwing enormous sums of money at everybody, And it's like the portal. The first week, everybody in the portal thinks they're going to get this dollar figure. And guys that panic overpay some of these guys. And then all of a sudden next week will go by and the dollars will drop. And then at the end, if you don't have a roster, the dollars will go up again. And so there's even a cycle to this. Everybody thinks they're going to get a certain amount of money. Everybody in the portal thinks they're going to get a scholarship. But at the end of the day, there'll be 20% of them that have given up a scholarship and get nothing. And so there's a gamble involved with it too.
That's a really interesting point. Brian Dutcher with us right now in the home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. I'm sure you have a feel for the remainder of your roster that you currently have, but do you truly know until the portal closes? And how do you address needs while the portal is open?
Yeah, we're evaluating every day. We're watching tape on 800 kids. We know what our needs are. I feel like I've already got a kid added. I don't want to say anything yet. I got another kid visiting, and so we're proactive. We're working, and so things have to happen. We have to continue to evaluate the pieces we need. I feel as if the rest of the team, as we sit here now, is intact, but I'm not naive enough to know that they're not getting calls and getting feelers all the time as to if this was available, would you leave? And so even though they're not in the portal, I know that there's poaching going on with every school in the country.
When Magoon Gwath told you that he was entering the portal, was that something that you were bracing for already?
We had a feeling it could happen, but with that being said, I still feel like Magoon loves San Diego State, and if the finances were equal, would remain at San Diego State. But there are things that work all the time. You're making decisions not only for yourself, but your family, and he wanted to go out there and see what was available to him.
Brian Dutcher with us right now on Jon and Jim. Dutch, I feel like when you get into off seasons, you obviously look back at a season and see what went well and areas you would improve in, but you typically don't overreact to any one game, right? Like you look at your result against UNC a week ago tonight in Dayton. How much of your off season is about addressing what happened in Dayton as opposed to just putting your team together and getting yourself in a position to get back to the NCAA tournament?
No, we're going to use that as motivation for next year. That we had a wonderful year. We had a bad finish to a wonderful year. To replace what we replaced and win 21 games and make it to the NCAA tournament. Teams go for years and don't go to the NCAA tournament, decades and don't go.
Yeah.
And these are good teams. And there are teams that have national championship banners hanging in the arenas that can't make the field. And so we don't want to be naive enough to know that what we're doing is not easy. It's hard. And we take great pride in what we're doing at San Diego State. But we also know that having played for a national championship, that has to be the goal. And we can't have the kind of season. And the comment I made is, we stumbled a lot of games this year where we got down to San Jose and to Wyoming. But North Carolina is not San Jose or Wyoming. That we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. We can't get down in games that we're capable of playing better in. And when we play a team that we get down to that's really good, then we can't fight our way back, even as hard as we fight. And so there always are lessons to be learned, especially with the young team we had last year. So we'll use that game against North Carolina as motivation, as fuel to get us ready for the following year.
Dutch, I don't know if you saw this take, probably not, but the take of the NIL is killing the Cinderella. Now, me and Jon don't view San Diego State as a mid-major. You guys always try to strive to be better than and also be consistently in the tournament every single year. But what do you make of that take that the NIL is killing the Cinderella in March Madness?
I don't think so. I don't feel as if we put the team together we want to put together, continue to work hard, that we will have a chance to advance in that tournament again. And if you believe otherwise, it'll never happen. So I believe we can do it. And we're not replacing an entire roster. You look at a Drake, the year they replaced an entire roster.
Right.
An entire roster. And then you take encouragement from Colorado State, New Mexico, advancing past the first round and actually having a chance in their second game to advance. And so the Mountain West is a good basketball conference, and San Diego State is a good basketball team.
Dutch, I've had a lot of people on social media ask me this, and I feel as if this has been short-sighted, but I want to hear from you. People have said, like, is San Diego State going to change its recruiting strategy with prep players, high school players, because someone like Magoon Guath only spent 1 year playing for you? Now, you redshirted him, and then, of course, he was on the floor for one season. But does one player like Magoon entering the portal change any type of philosophy for you when it comes to high school recruiting or not?
No. I mean, we're going to recruit the best players that we think fit our style of play, that are about the right things, that want to win, that want to develop, that want to get better. Those are the kind of kids we've won with. And so, and that people have to understand too, we have players in our program right now that could leave in a heartbeat for more money, but they choose to remain here because they love it here. They love the culture. They love the coaching. And they think at the end, this is a better choice to stay, even though there is more money out there for them. So don't get soured that everybody just chases money. We all know that's not the case, and that's with adults too. Sometimes we have opportunities to take jobs for more money, but we love where we are. We love what we're doing, and sometimes all that money does not equate happiness or future prospects for yourself.
Reese Waters obviously didn't play this season, but he has stated that he will be returning next year. How nice is it knowing that, you have a guy like Reese who can get a bucket at any moment for you, returning next year as a foundation for next year's team?
Yeah, we've got a good base coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just looking to add a piece or two, So some of the, it's a year ago. Let's just use Washington as an example. They get the player of the year from the Mountain West to transfer to Washington with Sprinkle. They pay him an exorbitant amount of money, and they finish in last place. So money does not equate success. And so at some level, you have to put a team together. Now, I'm not saying that Washington is not going to put a team together. Obviously, Sprinkle's a good coach, but it's not one piece. It's multiple pieces. It's not one player. You have to have a team. And so this is not an individual sport. And so if we lose a player, that we'd like to have, we'd like to have in the program, but this is a team sport. And we just feel we will put enough pieces together to have another competitive basketball team at San Diego State that aspires to greatness.
Dutch, can you speak on the importance of the collective? To your point, there's programs out there that might have been top 5 in NIL spending that didn't make the NCAA tournament. I'm not sure if Washington would qualify, but Indiana wasn't in the NCAA tournament. Kansas State spent a lot in NIL. They were not in the NCAA tournament. There's no assurance that by spending, you're going to win. But obviously, the dollars do matter to some extent. Mesa has this matching campaign going on right now, I think through the end of the month. For our listeners that aren't aware with it, that don't understand the complexities of it, how important is that matching campaign for retaining this roster and adding to it for next year?
It's everything. It's everything. We have to be competitive financially. And then you have to trust we're going to make the right decisions, that we are not going to spoil our roster, that we want kids that are about the right things. And the last thing we talk about is NIL money. We talk about fit, talk about culture. And if all those match, now we can talk about NIL money. But we can't do it with no NIL money. We have to continue to raise and try to be competitive. And it's harder. The Power 4 conferences have more than we have. That doesn't mean their fan bases are more passionate, that their facilities are better, but they have more TV money, they have more donor money, and we have to stay competitive. We can't do it for free. So we know we're not going to ever have as much as some of them, but we have to have enough where they trust in us to put a really good team together that will beat those teams because of the work we do and the finances we do have.
Final one for me, Dutch. Usually when a player enters the portal, more often than not, that player is gone. And rarely do you see players entering the portal returning back to the team that they just entered the portal from. Would there be a situation where you would welcome back players that have entered the portal for you, or how do you view that?
Yeah, absolutely. But it can't be a long timeline. It can't be like a month from now.
Right.
Because if we're doing our job, a month from now, we've already secured our roster. We've given out whatever money that player might have got to other people. And so, yes, there's always an opportunity to return to the program. But it can't be a decision that lingers for a month or more, because financially, we don't have a bottomless pit of money to wait for a player. So obviously I would love to have that, but we don't. So any money people give to help us retain players, to help us be able to wait on players, is immeasurably important.
Again, matching campaign going on right now at mesa-aztecs.org. That's mesa-aztecs.org. Just Dutch, while we have you briefly on your current roster, when does the work begin? Like that development process. Obviously, you get back on the floor as a team in July. It's amazing how this has essentially become a year-round sport. But what is the work that goes on from this point until you get back on the floor as a team for some of these players? Because you got this younger unit where you played 6 out of maybe 9 or 10 players in your rotation that were underclassmen. What type of development goes on now before you get back on the floor in July?
Yeah, we're shut down for a while, John, because let them rest their legs, get their minds fresh. They go on spring break Friday. The university does. So they'll get away for a week, and then we'll get them back, and we'll slowly start getting them back in the weight room, get them individual workouts, and start building next year's team. And we have a hungry bunch. And so they're excited to compete for a Mountain West title, to qualify for another NCAA tournament, and make that deep run that we've all become spoiled with here at San Diego State.
No doubt about it. Have you had time to be a grandfather again? Because I know you just welcomed a 3rd grandchild. Obviously, Aaron and Grayson having another child. So congratulations in order. Have you had time to do that? Or are you watching film with your grandchildren?
Well, I'm watching a Disney Channel with my grandchildren, but when they're sleeping or not around, I'm watching film. So
I love it.
This portal never ends. And so we are doing a good job. Trust me. We have pieces that we're pursuing, some that I feel like we have in place already, but have to do a little crossing the T's, dotting of the I's. But we are building a team that everyone's going to get behind and be excited about. You know, nobody wants to see a player leave, but it's like I said, you have to just get over it. You have to move forward. If I sat there and cried about it, I wouldn't be doing my job to help build a team for next year. And that's what I'm here to do with my coaching staff. We are building a team for next year.
And again, you can help mesa-aztecs.org. That matching campaign going on now through the end of March. Dutch, we appreciate you taking time for us. Get back to the film and the grandkids and the roster.
Get back to the Disney Channel.
Yeah, get back to the Disney Channel. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
All right, we're going to react to that. On the other side, stay with us. It's Jon and Jim. All right, I think that for the Aztec fans, and this would include myself, I think it includes Jim, who follows this closely like we all do. You needed some assurance. You know,
Like,
you just
take a
needed,
deep breath.
You take the deep breath, and I've been saying that. You're talking about a coach that 4 times in his career, let me just say this, let me make this point clear. 4 times in his career in 3 different decades has coached in a national championship game. 3 times an assistant, once a head coach. 3 of those at Michigan, 1 national title with Michigan in the 80s, 2 other appearances in the 90s, and then, of course, in 2023 with San Diego State. I mean, is his resume not secure? Like, he's
pretty secure.
He's gonna figure it out. The rules were different in 1989 than they were in 2023, and they're different today than they were last year. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, Dutch has adapted very, very well. It was kind of cool. And it wasn't going to say the names, but he's like, we got people lined up already. Just got to wait to have the pen hit the paper, and we're good to go. And you know, this isn't a knock on Guath or Boyd at all. But also, let's be real here. They didn't just lose Steph Curry and LeBron James. You know, like, they're really, really good players. Magoon Guath has the potential to be great. Nick Boyd, I loved Nick Boyd. Still do. I think he is a great leader. I would say he's probably one of my favorite Aztecs since I've been covering this team for the last decade.
Yeah, I enjoyed him being here for the last year.
I loved having him on the show. He is probably one of the better interviews that we've ever had from an Aztec player. But also, there are, as you said, 200 plus players already in the portal that are there's some really good players out there, really good. And Dutch knows talent. You can obviously, look at his resume to have that be proven. And he's going to go out there and he's going to find talent. He's going to find players that can help this team win. And that's the world of college basketball and football, is you have to just reload almost every single year. And Dutch has a resume where if you doubt him, look at the resume. And if you don't believe that resume, then I don't know what else to tell you.
I mean, people would have scoffed. I'm sure they did when Steve Fisher got here and said, we want to get to a Final Four. I mean, what do you mean you want to get to the Final Four? You mean, how about winning half your games, right? When Steve Fisher got here. And then they get to the tournament, and then they win in the tournament, and then they're in Sweet 16s. Then Brian Dutcher takes over and says, yeah, like, we're going to get to a Final Four one day. And gosh darn it, they do. And then he joins us a week after the season. What does he say? We're trying to make runs in the NCAA tournament. Our belief is we fully can do that. He scoffed at the idea that Cinderella is dead. That you can't really win games in the tournament. So look no further than Colorado State and New Mexico. They both won games. And Colorado State, if not for a really good play by that Maryland forward, is in the Sweet 16. Credit Maryland didn't win because they have more money. They didn't win because they have a larger collective. The kid made a shot.
Yeah. And as Dutch said, Washington, they finished in last place.
They didn't even make the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
The Big Ten.
And how much money they put in their program?
10 times more than San Diego State.
Right.
Maybe more.
Dutch has an eye for talent. He knows what he's doing. He's done this for a while, guys. I think, if you don't know, you should know that by now.
Right.
And is he always going to get it perfect? No, he's going to make mistakes. He's not going to always have the right player come in, and they might think a player can really help them, and the player doesn't help them. Like, it happens, but his success rate over his failure rate, he has more successes than not. And I just, listening to Dutch talk there, if you're an Aztec fan, first, I mean, how could you not love Dutch and what he says? And two, I think that should at least calm some people down, I think.
Yeah, it's just very soothing to hear it from the top that, while you may be panicking, by you, I mean the fan, and I get it. Fans, that's kind of your job as a fan. There's no panic at the top.
What does Shaq say? If, when Pat Riley was his head coach, he would always look at Pat and Phil and be like, the general's not, freaking out, then I feel good.
Right.
And that's how you should feel about Dutch. Dutch isn't freaking out, so you should feel okay. Yeah. Does it suck? Absolutely. Am I saying you shouldn't be upset?
We prefer the opposite, where players just stayed at their schools, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. But if the general is calm, cool, collected, in charge, tells everybody, I got this, we're going to be good, I think you should feel okay about that.
Deep breaths. All right, we'll get to the wrap on the other side. Plus, this hour and 15 minutes, your chance to win Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan tickets May 15th at the North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater. The wrap coming up next here on Jon and Jim.
All right, this update's brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Breaking news in the NFL. Russell Wilson is signing a 1-year deal with the New York Giants, and Stephon Diggs is signing a 3-year deal to join the New England Patriots. And opening day is just 2 days away. Petco Park will be the site. 1:10 first pitch with Michael King on the mound against Chris Sale. We'll be downtown at Sidebar for our opening day broadcast starting at 11 a.m. As you're making your way downtown to the ballpark, come on by and say hi to me and John. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at progressive.com. That's progressive.com.
All right, Jon and Jim, your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan May 15th, North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater. We'll tell you when to call. Your chance to win those tickets coming up in the next 10 or 15 minutes.
What's up, dude?
What is up, man? How are you?
I'm good. We're at the midway point of the show.
A little
How you
past.
feeling?
I feel good. I feel like I can go another 90.
Well, we have to go another 90.
This is like Schulte coming out to the mound and be like,
how's your arm feeling? You're like,
velocity.
feeling good, coach. I'm feeling good, Skip.
Coach.
I know.
Hey, coach, how are you?
I'm sorry. I'm
Is there anything worse than in a press conference at a Major League Baseball game when you hear some random reporter that usually covers like news, be like, Coach, your pitcher went like 5.5 innings. Did you think about him going 7, Coach? Like, wait, what? Well, what kind of question is that?
Come on, guys. It's bottom of the 7th. Get some points.
Get some points on the board.
Do you know the awkward feeling? Because you spent 3 straight years at Petco, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever remember any of those like awkward feelings when people would ask the dumbest questions that didn't typically cover baseball?
All the time.
Right?
And
you're thinking to yourself like, oh my gosh.
That's kind of why I don't ask questions when I'm down there. Not because I would come up with a stupid question.
Okay.
Because let's be real, most questions are all stupid.
Yeah, exactly. What are we really learning?
Yeah.
You know the answer.
Yeah, most questions are dumb.
Right.
And how I view it is, Kevin, Dennis, AJ. I put Marty in that because she's always down there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If they don't ask a question that I'm thinking, like, probably not a good question, unless there is a question out there that truly doesn't get asked, and I'm like, oh, I want to know this.
Which actually would come up a lot because you'd be like, well, hey, why did they bunt?
Yeah,
or why didn't they?
And I usually leave it if I go down there or for whatever to those 4 people to ask those questions because that is their job. I don't want to undercut them and ask a question that they were thinking of asking. It's like, Dennis and AJ and Kevin and Marty, like I want them to ask the questions because they're really good at it. And 2, that's what they do. Right. So
my favorite was within the last 2 years, we were at a press conference. I don't even know what it was with Preller in person at Petco. It was an introductory press conference for Bogarts when you embarrassed yourself, when you asked, like, what do you want to do with Soto?
I choked on myself and I was like, Soto. And then,
yeah, but he was like, yeah, we envision keeping one Soto.
Yeah. And then
they traded him.
Yeah, they traded him. Exactly.
So you asked the hard hitting question then.
Well, that's what I wait. I wait. I'm like, okay, is no one going to ask this question? No one's going to ask this question. All right, let's see if I can ask it. And then I'd be like, public setting, bunch of people.
Yeah, I know it is.
This is
fish
awkward.
out of water.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to do this. I'd much rather do this like one-on-one situation.
100%. All right, we will have again your chance to win Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan tickets coming up later this hour. But right now, let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
How big of a blow to the women's tournament is the injury to USC star Juju Watkins?
Huge. That was an awful injury last night.
Yeah, it was.
I know you don't like these types of things, like seeing like injuries.
No, I saw this one.
I was going to ask you if you saw it.
Yeah, I did. I mean, the ACL injury is a common one, specifically the women's basketball game, unfortunately.
It just did not look good.
And it was one of those things like you can't prevent against that.
No, it's brutal.
She's like the current star of the sport, right? I mean, Paige Becker's at UConn.
Paige Becker's
Juju Watkins at SC.
I want to say Paige Becker's will be the number 1 pick next year in the NBA draft.
I feel like they both
WNBA draft.
I feel like they've both been the face post Caitlin Clark.
Well, isn't Juju Watkins younger?
She's either a sophomore or junior. She's not old. Yeah,
sophomore. In
Paige Becker's is probably senior.
Beckers, I think, is going to the WNBA next year. Hopefully, she's drafted by the Golden State Valkyrie. I'd love that.
Or like the Connecticut team. Since she's played at UConn. But I get your point.
Yeah,
because you'd be a fan.
I would be a fan. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, because I think the biggest ratings for the tournament were coming. This is only the second round. So the Sweet 16 hadn't happened yet.
Yep.
The Final Four hasn't happened as of yet. And this was you're putting on display this, huge star in the women's game. And now I don't even know when she's going to return because the ACL is so significant and the injury's so late that the season's going to start in 7 months. And I would guess she wouldn't be available.
Like, will she have the red shirt next year?
I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe she'll be back at the halfway point.
Brutal.
So it's a huge blow to the women's tournament with SC moving on, but without Juju Watkins. Next question.
Will Russell Wilson be good with the Giants?
Dude, no, it's such a weird dynamic that you got Russell Wilson and Jameis on the same team. Huh?
Right.
Who are they going to draft at the 3rd overall pick?
That's a really good point.
That to me tells me that they might have got tipped off, or maybe it'd be a bad tip that Cam Ward and Shador are going 1-2.
1 and 2.
And so they don't have a chance to even get one of those guys. So they need to just get a quarterback to fill the spot.
Well, how cursed are you if you suck every year and you can't get one of 2 quarterbacks when you're picking 3rd in a draft? But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a move of desperation.
And who knows if Cam Ward and Shador are going to even be that good?
One of them might. One of them probably won't.
But I was texting our resident Giants fan in the building, Thor, from the show on Rock 105.3. Let's just say that he's not happy. He's a huge New York Giants fan. And I just sent him the tweet from Adam Schefter, and I got like 7 replies, and they were all like,
Well, and by the way, one of the ways that someone like Shador Sanders or Cam Ward wouldn't succeed is by going to the Giants, because oftentimes it's about fit. I'm not saying that where they go will ultimately work out, but don't tell me that Patrick Mahomes didn't benefit from Kansas City and Andy Reid. Don't tell me it would have been identical. No, it wouldn't have been. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been great, and he might have won at a high level, but he wouldn't have won at the exact same level without Kansas City. Next question.
You guys worried about the Lakers?
Why should I be worried about the Lakers?
They're 3-7 in their last 10, and they've dropped back in the West. I don't know where they right now are in the standings, but they're certainly dropping back in the West. I know they dealt with injuries, obviously, but now it's April. Or it's almost April, and the postseason's about to begin, and they're not playing well, and they haven't been healthy.
Well, also LeBron has been out for a
That's
while.
what I'm saying, but they're not fully healthy.
Fourth in the West.
They lost 3 in a row. They're 3-7 in their last 10. Fourth in the Western Conference, but yeah, it is a jumbled mess between
2 and
truthfully
6 or something?
2 and 8. Now, again, I don't think the Timberwolves will be in the 2 seed because they're 5.5 games back of the Rockets. But I mean, crazier things have happened. Like that whole thing right there could change like dramatically by the start of the postseason. They're fine. They're going to be in the postseason.
Yep.
Their whole goal now is just to make sure to get healthy as possible. Going into the postseason, especially LeBron. And I don't think there's a problem with them right now, honestly. They're not playing well, but they're fine. They're going to be fine.
Postseason starts April 19th. They have 11 games remaining. And if nothing else, you'd think you'd want to secure home court for at least a series and remain a top 4 seed. I think that's at least beneficial.
Yeah, that is
as opposed to going road.
Yeah, that's the goal right there, is get a home playoff series. We had Alan on with us, Alan Sliwa.
Yep.
And I think he said they haven't had a home, like they haven't.
It's been forever. You're right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, he did say that.
Because when's the last time they were the hosted home team in a playoff series? Like they had home court advantage.
I don't know the answer.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're fine, but they need to be healthy. Next question.
Correct.
Will Magoon Gwath be a day 1 lottery pick?
I don't know if it was. Did I put day 1? Will Magoon Gwath one day be a lottery?
Oh, okay.
That's all right.
I was gonna say there's no day 2,
day
so.
1. I think so. Yes, I do. I think he has got the size, and especially on the defensive end, an NBA team will fall in love with it. It's just how can he develop his offensive game, and can he, grow some size? If he truly takes a next step next year, wherever he goes, say he gains 15 pounds of muscle, instead of averaging 9 points a game, he averages 14 points a game,
9 rebounds,
2.5 blocks. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, he'll be a lottery pick.
Do you think it's more likely 1 year from today or 2 years from today?
I would hope for Magoon's sake it's 2 years, because I think the more time to develop before you get to the NBA, the better.
Right.
And you're going to make a lot of money in college.
Get paid both of the years.
Yeah, you're going to get paid. So I think for him, again, he's going to probably have some people in his ear like, go to the NBA, you can get a bunch of money. I'd much rather be developed first than not. So I'm going to say 2 years.
Yeah, I think he's got a realistic shot to be a lottery pick, but it'll be based on how he performs, obviously, this year and potentially next in college hoops. All right, call right now if you want a chance to win 2 free tickets to see Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan right here in San Diego on May 15th at the North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater. The number to call is 877-767-4760. First 2 callers will be contestants for trivia. This is for 2 free tickets to see Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan right here in San Diego, May 15th at the North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater. Again, the number to call is 877-767-4760. First 2 callers will be contestants for trivia. We're playing for Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson tickets next. All right, AM radio keeps vital voices accessible. Congress can secure its future, but we need your help. Text AM to 52886 now to support keeping AM radio in cars. Tell your member of Congress to pass legislation now. Keep AM radio in cars. Standard message and data rates apply. If you missed our conversation with Brian Dutcher, visit the iHeartRadio app and put Jon and Jim in your presets. You will find it there on the iHeartRadio app. Just put us in your presets. Search for Jon and Jim.
Very simple to do.
It's very easy.
It'd be much appreciated if you guys did that out there. That's all we're asking you to do is just put us in your presets.
That's all we're asking.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Do I have presets yet?
And listen on the radio.
Right. We're asking a lot, actually.
Just do like 7 things for us, please.
Right. Exactly. You can swing by and say hello on Thursday. We're broadcasting 11 to 2 from Side Bar.
Mm-hmm.
This is downtown. Opening day is 1:10 p.m. start. Padres Braves.
Yes.
We'll be outside, so you can say hello, kind of swing by on your way.
Yeah.
On your way to the game, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners will be down there. 40-something thousand opening day sellout.
Mm-hmm.
What's the weather going to be? Is it going to be prototypical 72 and sunny? I think it said gray.
I didn't even look, but I'm going to say yes.
Go look. Go look.
So Sidebar is let me give you the address real quick. It's
Thank you.
536 Market Street, just a couple blocks away from Petco Park, and like you said, just swing on by.
Just swing by. Just be outside.
Yeah, say hi to us on your way to the ballpark.
Right,
and we'll be there at 11 a.m. So special start time on Thursday, getting you ready for opening day for the Padres.
Now, are you going to go to the game? Well, we're on the air during the game, truthfully.
Yeah, probably not. I was going to ask for a credential, but then I'm thinking to myself, by
the time you get in,
and if anything, I'd want to be there beforehand, right? To all the like pageants, everything like that. I think I might go on Saturday and do the double dip.
Try to do Padres SDFC.
I might. I'm gonna make a final.
I like it. I'm gonna
make a final decision by probably Thursday. I mean, I have to.
No, you have to by Saturday morning, basically. I guess you need to notify.
I need to put in requests and things. So,
what game would you prefer the San Diego team win? Game 3 of 162 or game 6 of 34?
Well,
for SDFC,
when you put it that way, it's kind of like whatever. But SDFC is taking on LAFC.
Right, so it's going to be a cool atmosphere.
And so I think I would take SDFC.
So you're rooting for the Padres to lose, you said?
No, I never said that.
I'm kidding.
Also, because SDFC has not won a home match yet. They've had 2 draws.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They've scored 1 goal at home.
Correct. They've had 2 draws at home. And I think picking up your first home win against LAFC would be pretty cool.
No, absolutely. I know it'd be pretty cool.
So I'm gonna take SDFC in that situation right there.
Okay. All right, let's play.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Thomas and Ben. Thomas, you called in first, so you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
Let's go with John today.
All right, Thomas and John.
And then Ben, you get Jim, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, cool. Brent, what's the question of the day?
Hey guys, yesterday we talked about the men's Sweet 16 being set. Well, the women's Sweet 16 is also set. Today's question, name any of the 9 schools that have 18 or more all-time Sweet 16 appearances. So there's 9 schools in women's college basketball history that have at least 18 or more Sweet 16 appearances. Name them.
Okay. Ben, you're up first. What's your first guess?
You gotta wait your turn.
Go back and forth.
Wait till I'm finished talking. All right. Ben, what's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
South Carolina.
South Carolina?
South Carolina under Dawn Staley.
Was it going to be my first guess?
No, I mean, they've been amazing recently. I'm going to say no. I have no clue. Brent's checking. No, they've been amazing recently, but 18 or whatever?
Yeah. Thomas, you're up next. What's your first guess? You have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'll go with UConn.
UConn seems safe. How many do they have, Brent? I'll say 30.
70.
Under Gino, it's got to be 30.
I know, it's 30.
They have the second most, the 31.
31. There you go.
All right.
Ben, you're up next. What is your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'll take a lifeline.
All right. I'll give you Tennessee. You take that.
Yes.
Under Pat Summit, are they number 1 all time? I guess it'd be yes. Okay.
There you go.
36.
Look at you, Jim.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thomas, you're up next. What is your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Dang, that was my guess. I'll go with.
I got one for you.
Now I have to use a lifeline. Let's go with the lifeline.
I'm going to give you a sneaky one, Jim. Okay? Tell me if you would ever go down this path. And I think Brent might know where I'm going. This is not a traditional men's power. I know this. And I think I have the program right. Louisiana Tech was an absolute monster for forever in women's basketball. I will give you Louisiana Tech. Do you take that?
Let's take it.
You took it. How about that? Right? Do you remember that era, Brent? They were rolling. They were. I don't know who the coach was, but they were. I don't know if they're still good, but they were unbelievable. How many appearances they have?
20.
20. Thank you, Jim.
All right, Ben, you're going to need this to stay in the game here. Oh wait, no. Yeah, you are. What is your final guess? You do not have a lifeline, so it's all up to you.
Kentucky.
Kentucky Wildcats, women's side. I'll say no. Is it on? No. Here's where I would have gone if the game is over. What about Notre Dame?
That would be correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Notre Dame.
Let me just think real quick. So we said Tennessee, UConn, Louisiana Tech, Notre Dame. Did we say anyone else, guys?
No.
I can't think of any. Is there a Western school like an SC or a?
No.
Okay.
Well, there's one. There's one West Coast school. That's it.
Stanford.
Yes.
Stanford, of course.
Yes,
Dominant.
there you
Yeah. All right, Stanford. So who else is on this list?
All right. Tennessee's number 1. UConn's 2. Stanford is 3. Notre Dame is 4th. Then Louisiana Tech.
Yeah.
Georgia.
Okay.
Georgia's been 20.
Yep.
Texas, North Carolina, and then Duke.
Duke in North Carolina. All right. So they've been good at men's and women's. All right. It's a good list. Good question. Congratulations to our winner because you have captured 2 tickets to see both Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan. This is the Outlaw Music Festival, May 15th, North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater. For tickets and information, you can visit Ticketmaster.com. Again, tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. It was a fun game. We should do that every day.
Got Ben Fadden tweeting us like, I would have aced that game in a second.
Is he really tweeting us about it?
No, he's texting us.
See this, Ben.
He just said that this game would have been easy for me.
Is that right? Hey, Ben, I didn't know Ben was some hardcore women's basketball fan.
Ben's a hardcore everything fan.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Were you caught off guard by my Louisiana Tech?
100%. I would not have guessed that ever.
The Texters.
I remember their uniforms.
Yeah, were they baby blue? Or,
yeah. But I couldn't remember like anybody that played for them or their coach.
No,
I just remember like their uniforms and like highlight packages and stuff.
Yeah, I would have never guessed Louisiana
But
Tech.
you knew Tennessee?
Yeah.
Which was impressive.
Tennessee.
UConn.
That's probably it right there.
All I know is however often Gino Auriemma has won at UConn is absurd. I don't care what the sport is, what the era. Is that the most like dominant run of any coach in any sport?
When he retires, it's like
wait, what?
You
You want to take over for him?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to emulate that. You're not going to replicate.
Well, I mean, John Shire's doing a pretty good job at Duke right now.
True. True.
Like if they win the national title this year.
But Coach K, you're right, has maybe 6.
Uh-huh.
But Gino's got 10 plus titles at UConn probably. That's a lot.
Yeah. But again, it's the NIL world. So
I
again,
don't know if it's easier or harder.
I could coach there and still get the best players,
because everyone's coming.
Yeah, because they're getting $2 million.
Brent's looking that up. How many titles does UConn have in women's basketball? Because they got a lot in men's.
It's either 10 or 11.
But they got a lot in women's. Yeah, it's double digits.
Gino's got 11 national
ridiculous.
titles.
That's unbelievable.
Is that good?
It is.
But he's a loser. None since 2016.
Oh, get rid of him. What a joke. All right. Is Jackson Merrill going to be in a Padres uniform long term? Plus, has the business of the Padres ever been better than now? We'll touch on both on the other side to kick off hour 4 of Jon and Jim, and it's next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. We'll start with news in the NFL today. The New York Giants are signing Russell Wilson to a 1-year contract. The New England Patriots are signing wide receiver Stephon Diggs. And moving over to the Padres, opening day is on Thursday, 1:10 p.m. down at Petco Park. Michael King and Chris Sale will be on the mounds for the Kings. The Padres and the Braves will be at Sidebar downtown on opening day. Our broadcast will start at 11 a.m. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at progressive.com. That's progressive.com.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
Nachos this year allegedly are $49.
That's not accurate.
That
Don't
can't be-
push that.
that can't be accurate, right?
That might be like some special like Nacho Supreme Spectacular. They're not selling at the like little stand you walk up to. Hey, how much for a soft pretzel? $8. How much for nachos? $49.95. They're not $49.
But that's got to be a
You know
typo.
what I mean? Yeah.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego, Southern California, what's going on? Final hour, Jon and Jim here until 6. If you missed our conversation with Brian Dutcher, find it on the iHeartRadio app. Download it, search for Jon and Jim. Put us in your presets. You can hear Dutch with us earlier at 4 p.m. here on Jon and Jim. So I mentioned briefly earlier that I think I'm going to be sore. Now, it's not from, I've been going to Orange Theory, right, for like years. You can't tell, but
I literally can't tell.
right.
So Orange Theory is not to gain muscle and build muscle mass, right?
What are you talking about?
What is Orange Theory exactly again? Can you remind me?
It's like group fitness. Half of it's on a treadmill, half of it's doing weights. Sometimes you do a rower.
See, my theory is that you just go there and you start working out, and then you'll find somebody to talk about like San Diego State basketball or football
I
with.
do. I have a couple of people that talk San Diego
And then
State.
it ends up turning into like
Me doing nothing.
I spent an hour at the gym, but 45 minutes of that was talking about the transfer portal.
Well, Kristen gets mad at me because she's like, maybe just in the 1 hour class, you only go to the restroom one time. I'm like, I had to go to the bathroom. Like,
You're
what am I
that
supposed to
person?
do? Yeah, I am that person. But anyway, the reason my back is sore today is that me and Jim went up to Carlsbad because we got a buddy who runs a place called the Bermuda Club, which is ridiculous. It's like this unbelievable place. And he wanted to treat us to like golf simulators.
Yeah, what's up, Scott?
Scott, thank you for having us again. We've been up there a couple of times, or I have. But I went up there initially, and I'm like, Jim,
dude.
And I sent him pictures of this place,
Ugh.
which basically is like, it's this ridiculous place. You have to see it. But I'm like, Jim, you need to get here. This is literally made for you, not me. Because it's got like golf simulators and like everything that men do that I don't do, it has.
Yeah.
So we went up there today and we're hitting golf balls. And I'll be honest,
It did not go well for you.
It didn't go well for me. Now you look like, honestly, you look like you've like professionally played golf.
I have not professionally played, but I play golf. John.
It's ridiculous. You actually look the part. You hit the ball, it goes in the air, all those things.
Okay.
Goes 275 yards and
This place was like my heaven.
100%.
It had everything. It had TVs everywhere. It had a gym. It had a workout area.
It had beer.
Like, yes,
by
it
the
had
way.
beer. It had like a spa area. It had a lounging area. It had a putting green, and the best part of all, it had a simulator, golf simulator.
You were in heaven.
It also had video games as well,
Yeah.
old school video games. NBA Jam,
Whatever you want.
Pac-Man,
I'm like, why don't we
Golden
just
Tee.
why don't we just take the show on the road and do it from Bermuda Club?
Yeah, like I was like, can I just hang out here for
Like ever?
the rest of my life?
Like Kristen and Jones will see you another time.
Like Aaron can visit on the weekends.
Maybe.
But
Anyway,
it was
thank you,
amazing.
Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It was the place is awesome. It's great. Look at my X account, my Twitter.
There's a photo of me and you. Put that on Jon and Jim.
I posted a video. I said my new Jon and Jim pre-show routine, and it was just us at the Bermuda Club. But check it out. It's great on my socials. So yeah,
There's nothing better than Jim's social. I promise you that.
there is. But you know, whatever.
What is it? All right. By the way, Kevin AC will join us tomorrow, a day before the Padres take the field for the first time in 2025. Like, does it feel kind of like the longest offseason ever? To me, it does. It feels a little bit like a lifetime ago that we were recapping Game 5 of that horrific Dodger series. Doesn't it feel like a lifetime ago?
Honestly, no, it doesn't.
It does to me. You know where I was? Wyoming.
Oh, you were not here.
I was in Wyoming.
We did like a
San Diego
2-hour
State.
wrap-up show, and we had like
30,000 views, maybe?
30,000. Yeah, it was ridiculous because
It was all Dodger trolls.
there was a good amount of Dodger
There were a lot of
trolls.
Dodger trolls.
Yeah,
But okay, from that moment to today, you have Roki. I mean, what a saga.
Yeah.
The Roki saga was our offseason. It made our career.
the Shield side of the lawsuit.
Shield Sadler lawsuit, exactly. And then the very quiet offseason until just, I guess, until Nick Pivetta. Like, you're not going to remember the offseason for Martin Maldonado.
No, but we weren't talking about Nick Pivetta rumors with the Padres
Not
for
at
like
all.
weeks on end.
I think that the two things we covered primarily, well, there were three things. The weeks-long topic of how can you go 24 consecutive scoreless innings,
Yeah.
and then the Dodgers win the World Series, into, well, Roki Sasaki, so you say there's a chance. And Mike Schultz,
He's in a Padres jersey.
Mike Schultz like, we're good. We're good. He's coming.
He's going to
Whatever
be
he
here.
said at the winter meetings to
Yeah.
get us all excited. And then Shield Seidler, like, Happy New Year, I'm filing a lawsuit to control the organization.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
And then here we are. Spring training, somewhat uneventful other than Yu Darvish's health. And here we are.
Here
Opening
we are.
day.
Yeah, it really, to me, does not feel like a lifetime ago, like for you.
Interesting. It feels like forever for me.
It still was, what, 4 or 5 months ago?
Yeah.
But to me, what feels like a lifetime ago is opening day last year. I mentioned it yesterday. If you look at the roster on opening day last year compared to at the end of the season and then compared to now, they didn't have Luis Ariz on that roster. They didn't have Donovan Solano or David Peralta. You know, they didn't have Jason Adam on that roster. We didn't know what Jackson Merrill was going to turn into. And they had Graham Pauley and Jose Azocar and Tyler Wade on that roster. And now those guys are gone. Now, Yuli Gurriel and Martin Maldonado aren't any better. Jason Hayward, you could argue they might be worse. But we know what Michael King is now. We didn't even know Michael King could do that last year at this time, right?
No, we had no idea.
We had no clue. So we know what Michael King's capable of. We obviously know what Dylan Cease is capable of. Manny Machado, we know what Jackson Merrill's capable of. Tatis, if he can just stay healthy for one freaking year.
Right.
Jason Adam, right? Nick Pivetta is not going to be any world beater, but he's going to be consistent for you. If his ERA is in the fours, okay, but I think he can have some really good outings for you as well. Like, I think he can have some real good flashes for you, like high strikeout games where you're like, whoa, but then he's going to have some blowout games as well. We know Mike Schilt, type of manager he is now. There's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, we didn't know.
There were so many unknowns going into last year. And I feel like just, you know, we didn't even realize, like, this is crazy how they won 93 games.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because earlier today I heard a lot of discussion about, like, they got to get off to a fast start. I think we were preaching that in 2024, and they didn't get off to a fast start. In fact, they were 45-45 after the All-Star break. Remember that? They were blown out in the first game after the All-Star break. I think they were 45-45. They lost to Cleveland like 13-1. And then they were on that torrid stretch. From 45-45 to 93 wins means what? That they still won 48 games. You know me as the math. They won 48 of their last 69.
Yeah, it was an incredible stretch.
48 of their last 69 they won. That's an absurd stretch. So, yeah, starting fast would be nice, but so would finishing fast. And finishing fast gives you a position or gives you a belief that you can win in the postseason.
But what also that tells you is, you know, well, I don't know if it tells you anything, but if they do end up at some point this year at the 90 game mark, 45-45, then you're just like, okay, well, you got to replicate what we did last year.
Which isn't going to happen.
It's not. It almost felt like a lightning in a bottle situation with a lot of players and the team.
Yeah.
So I actually do think they need to get out to a way better start this year. So you're not putting the pressure on to have to replicate what you did last year in a 2-month stretch, which was, I don't know, the best 2-month stretch in the history of the franchise.
I agree with that. Now, I hope Padres fans right now are seated or slow down on the highway because Juan Nunez, the Rule 5 pick, has not made the team. Juan Nunez will be returned to the Baltimore Orioles. They took him in the major league portion of the Rule 5 draft. He was fighting for a spot, I guess, in their bullpen. He will be returned or offered back to Baltimore and not make the team. Is the team finalized at this point?
After today, John, I will never care. Not that I won't care. I'll never remember the name Juan Nunez ever again.
Not even tomorrow. If I say, "Hey, remember the name Juan Nunez?" You'd be like, "What are you talking
Like
about?"
on my own.
Golden State Warrior?
Like on my own. I've obviously if you said Juan Nunez, I'd be like, okay.
Right, but you'll never reference him in any capacity.
Not one time.
Did we even talk about him at any point?
I think we mentioned him one time. And
Right.
this is the other time we're mentioning Juan Nunez. So
I think Ben Fadden.
who?
I think he tweeted out a list of what he believes is the players that made the team. My point is, I don't think there's anything right now that we're waiting on. Like a year ago, remember, as late as the start of the season, they traded for Dylan Cease. Now I know their season started early, but they actually traded for Dylan Cease like the day their season started. And he met the team.
And then they traded for Luis Ariz like in 3 weeks or 4
Right.
month
These were
season.
massive moves.
Yeah, dude.
Now, there's always the possibility of like, oh, the Cubs put whomever on waivers and we're going to pick them up and put them in our bullpen. But that's not overly concerning, like a Juan Nunez type move. Last year, you had these huge moves, Cease and Arise, back to back, March and May or March and April, that really played this huge role for the Padres in 2025. I guess it's hard to predict, but it doesn't appear as if something like that is down the pipeline right now.
I don't think there is. I'd be surprised if there is.
Right.
I think this is what they're going to go with. And I don't envision a move 2 weeks into the year where we're like emergency.
Right.
I just don't see that. They have their pieces. This is who they got. And I like their pieces. I really do. I can't wait to see a healthy Luis Ariz. He tore the cover off the ball in spring. It is what it is in spring, whatever. But, when Luis Ariz came here last year, he went on a tear and he got hurt and he wasn't as good. He still was, from baseball standards, well above average hitter. But he wasn't the guy that we saw the first month or so here in the Padres uniform. Like every day, the guy was having multiple hit games.
Right. I remember.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Can Tatis stay healthy? That's a big question mark. But if he does, can't wait to see that. Jackson Merrill year 2. Can't wait to see that. Manny Machado, big year for him. Being fully healthy in the offseason. Can't wait for that. Bounce back year from Xander. Year 2 of Michael King as a starter. Dylan Cease in a walk year. The new Padre Nick Pivetta. There's a lot of pieces I can't wait to see. And I think getting out to a not like a super fast start, but getting out to a nice start would help a lot. So you're not putting pressure on yourself later in the year to have to pull off a run like you did last year.
Yeah, where they closed again 48-21.
Yeah.
In their last 69 games. All right. What is the Padres payroll heading into the season? Tell us about the direction of the franchise under John Seidler. We'll discuss on the other side. We are here until 6 p.m. on Jon and Jim. right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Tomorrow at 6, right here on San Diego Sports 760, it's SDFC Midweek Live. You're from head coach Mikey Varas, as well as interviews with players and coaches. Find out the latest club and MLS information, hosted by Adrian Garcia Marquez and Darren Smith. SDFC Midweek Live every Wednesday at 6 on your home for SDFC. San Diego Sports 760. They're back in action Saturday night, a match you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760 against LAFC.
Big match. It's going to be a really fun sports weekend here in San Diego.
Absolutely. We got baseball back. We've got San Diego FC. And yeah, kind of a huge Saturday on tap for San Diegans here locally.
Too bad, San Diego State wasn't in the Sweet 16. Or like UCSD or on the women's side. Like, it'd be cool if you had basketball, baseball, and soccer all happening this weekend.
Man, that would be, that would be.
It happened last year. We just didn't have MLS yet.
Right.
But
we do now.
But we do now.
Yeah, we do now.
Yeah,
so Kevin AC spoke with Eric Grupner as the season is about to get underway, just about like where things stand financially and otherwise with the San Diego Padres. The headline of this article is "How do the small market Padres," and I hate even putting that in the headline. We talked about that earlier. Continue to make a big splash, and basically the premise was, well, their fan support is close to the top of Major League Baseball, right? 3.2 million fans, sellouts near every night. And that has allowed them to spend maybe beyond means. I think some people would probably argue that they've spent beyond means. They're going to enter the season, Jim, with the 9th highest payroll in the sport, $199,240,000. That's $6 million behind the Houston Astros for 8th most in the sport. Atlanta, by the way, who will be here on opening day, is 7th in payroll at $206 million. We mentioned the Dodgers, $334 million in TV each year. Their payroll is $322. So they actually spend less in payroll than they get in TV. But do you feel as if they can consistently sit top 10, which is where they've been by and large?
Like
right?
For how long?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Under John Seidler in the 2020s, because it's now 2025, for the next 2 to 4 years, can they sit in the top 10 in Major League Baseball and payroll?
I don't know.
Stay tuned.
I don't know. I don't know what to think of John yet. I really don't. I don't know how the lawsuit's going to impact this team. Right? We've had people on that says that these types of things do impact organizations and franchises for a good amount of time until it's resolved. So if in 2 years from now they've gone 2 more off seasons where they don't spend another penny like they did this year, and AJ is like having to make these creative deals happen. Yeah, I don't know if I could at that point in time say it's sustainable.
That's fair. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Now they're going to have still a big payroll because they just have money that they got to pay guys. I mean, they got to pay Manny, they got to pay Xander, Tatis, Cronenworth, Darvish, right? They still have a good chunk of money that they will have to be paying players. But I just don't know what to think of it. I don't know what to think of this team going forward after this year, if they can maintain it. Like, it's a nice thing to say, tell the fans, like,
top 10,
we have a top 10 payroll, guys.
Right.
Okay. Can you tell me that your guys are going to have a top 10 payroll for the next, 5 years?
That's kind of the point. The premise of the article also was one of these teams is not like the others, which is the other teams, the top 10, all are in quote unquote large markets, right? That's where we get with baseball. Like, listen to the top 10: Dodgers, Mets, Phillies, Yankees, Blue Jays. Toronto's a huge city. Now, they don't win, but they try to spend. Rangers, obviously, in Dallas, Atlanta, and then you have Houston. How many World Series have they won here in the last decade? And then the Angels, who are, technically in LA. So the 9 teams they're competing with in payroll in the top 10 are all kind of in inarguable larger markets for whatever that's worth. Then San Diego, yet they're the Padres sitting at 9th. And the premise being, well, Grupner says, well, the support is so good that allows us to spend at that rate.
Yeah. And I will give them credit for still spending. And by still spending, I mean in keeping the players they have and not trading them away. They didn't spend much money this offseason, but they didn't trade away the players that we were all thinking that they could have traded away.
Right.
to, free up payroll and free up money, right? So I'll give them credit for that. But, the Jon inherited all of this. Would Jon have done this on his own? That's a question that we don't know the answer to.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say down the road, okay, Jon is the control person of this team for the next 15 years.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm listening.
So 10 years from now, 12 years from now, guys like Xander and Manny and Tatis, they're all going to be off the books. They're all going to be gone.
Right.
Is he going to spend at a top 10 payroll then? Now, that is so far down the line. Who knows if any of us are here then, right?
Right.
But that's a question that I didn't have to have for Peter. That's a question that I'm definitely having for Jon and everybody else in the organization.
Did you expect an asteroid?
Well, I meant
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
In media.
Yeah.
It's a very good point. One thing that was detailed in this article, Jim, is that the Padres were 6th in baseball in things like corporate sponsorship, team store sales, ticket sales, and concessions.
Okay.
So again, what allows them to spend top 10 is my point. Because not their TV money. We've talked about it for years on end. It's not their TV. It's not their market. But I guess my point, I've made this point year in and year out. You've heard me make this point so many times. Padres fans are so good, it's actually giving the organization a chance to kind of keep up with the Joneses. Because in a sport like baseball, unlike the NFL, unlike the NBA, like you can get run out of the gym in payroll. There's nothing stopping the Yankees from spending or the Dodgers from spending. Like, how do you keep up in this sport? I think the whole point here is that Padres fans are so good and go to the ballpark so often that it's giving the Padres a chance under John Sadler's ownership to win at the highest level, which I kind of buy, as in because the fan support has been so good, they can invest in the organization and at least they have more than hopefully a puncher's chance against teams like the LA Dodgers. I buy that, but the other side of that coin, to your point, is what happens on the other side if you don't win. Yeah. Can they continue to invest? And
oh, by the way, going into the future here, not like 15 years, but just like, I don't know, a year.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have 3 million fans at the ballpark this season.
Yep.
Potentially.
I think they will.
I think close to it or right over it, right? Next year that's going to be a year where you are going to know truly if they are going to invest in this team and reward the fans for doing the same for them. Because Michael King, Dylan Cease, Luis Ariz, all free agents. All right.
Those are some big ones.
Another year of Jackson Merrill without getting a contract extension. Okay. You are going to know a lot come next offseason. I just think that if they don't spend next offseason, then I don't think any of this to me means anything, because it will show they aren't really truly as committed as you want to see them. Like how they haven't talked to Michael King for a contract extension is beyond me. Dylan Cease, I understand because he's got Boris as his agent, but you can't talk to Michael King. You can't think of a way to get something done with him. I mean, it's ridiculous. So we'll know a lot next offseason.
I agree with that. All right, more on the Padres, who are less than 2 days out from opening on Thursday at 1:10. Also, further reaction to our conversation with Brian Dutcher earlier today on Jon and Jim, on the transfer portal and more, and on the Aztecs moving forward into this offseason. Jim's back page is ahead. We're here until 6. It's Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. NFL news of the day. Russell Wilson signing a 1-year deal with the New York Giants, and wide receiver Stephon Diggs is signing with the New England Patriots. In baseball, Thursday, it's opening day. Padres and Braves down at Petco Park, 1:10 start time. Michael King on the hill for the Padres against Chris Sale for the Braves. Reminder, we will be downtown at Sidebar for our opening day broadcast starting at 11 a.m. As you're making your way down to Petco Park, come on by and say hi. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at progressive.com. That's progressive.com.
Jim's Back Page coming up in about 10 or so minutes. Here until 6, Jon and Jim. Again, Kevin Acey, Padres Insider, a day out from opening day, will join us tomorrow right here on Jon and Jim. We did have the pleasure of being joined by Brian Dutcher earlier. There has been, I think this is completely fair to say this. Tell me if I'm off base here. There's been a lot of panic. There's been a lot of panic within the fan base, has there not?
No, you're right.
There's been absolute panic.
Uh-huh.
And some of it I do understand. We're in uncharted waters with college athletics. There is so much movement. We went from an era where there was no movement, and then when players did move, they sat out for a year, to now you can just transfer 5 different times in 5 years or whatever it is. But I thought Dutch today, and you can hear the whole conversation. Download the iHeartRadio app and put Jon and Jim in your presets. You can hear the whole conversation. I thought Dutch today did an amazing job of calming the masses, like an amazing job of calming the masses. I'm not even sure how he did it, but it's just the way he speaks on this. He's been through this before. He'll be through it again. And he basically said, yeah, if we could have Boyd and Guath back, of course we'd prefer to do it, but we won't. And we'll address needs in the portal, and we'll have pieces back. And we envision winning at a high level moving forward.
What do I say all the time?
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
No, that's you.
Right.
In this case, it rings true. Adapt or die. It's kind of how the world is now. Like in our business, it is a clear adapt or die business. You know, if you are not evolving with social video, like you are being left behind. And that's how it is in the NIL era. Mm-hmm. Either adapt or you're going to be out. If you don't want to do it, then leave. And Dutch obviously doesn't want to leave. He wants to do it. And guess what he's doing? He's adapting to it. And saying today, you know, like, there's no time to overreact. We're not overreacting. We feel confident about what we have. We're close to bringing in actually somebody as we speak, maybe another guy. So, you know, I understand the NIL panic, but I'm not overreacting, which means you shouldn't overreact.
Yeah, I love what you said on that after our conversation with him an hour ago, which is like, you know, you kind of look to the captain of the ship when the seas get rough.
Yeah, if you're looking at the captain of the Titanic,
yeah, it's like we're going down, man.
He's like, this is bad.
There's gonna be panic.
You're gonna freak out.
What was the example you gave though in the NBA?
Oh, Shaq says it all the time, and he mentions Phil Jackson and Pat Riley as the generals. And ironic that he has a commercial with the general.
Good point. Yeah.
With insurance
for like 20 years, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But he mentions a lot how he would look to them. And if they're not panicking, I'm not panicking.
Right.
Like they are the people that the team and the fan base looks towards. And if Dutch is sitting here saying, this is bad, guys, I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to try to do something, then yeah, 100% go ahead, freak out.
I love the line he had, and I wish we could actually play it back, but I'm just thinking about it right now. The line he had about, I said, hey, is it time where you have to have a general manager for college basketball like Sean Lewis has for football? He's like, not if I have money. Right. He's like, he actually said, like, it's easy to be the GM of the Dodgers. I agree. Like, the Dodgers GM has way more flexibility than AJ Preller. You think the Dodgers GM is like Martin Maldonado or Elias Diaz? No. He's got way more flexibility than that. You think the Dodgers GM is like, hey, we got to let Profar walk. We don't have $8 million a year.
Dodgers are like, do you gudo you want Blake Snell or not?
or you want Blake Snell and Roki, or do you want Blake Snell and Chris Sale?
Do you want Blake Snell and Roki and Tyler Glasnow and
right?
You know what I mean?
So it's like different. And he mentioned the fact money matters. It does. But, and he talked about the fact that it isn't the end all be all. You can't put all players, paint them all with the same brush, right? So some coaches, how many coaches would be as loyal as Brian Dutcher has been to San Diego State, and specifically Steve Fisher? Dutch could have left San Diego State well before he became head coach of the Aztecs. How many chances did he have to leave? But he stayed. How many chances since he's taken this job has he had?
He could have left this year, go back to Minnesota.
That's the thing. I mean, so, and by the way, there's other programs that have to deal with that. They got to deal with coaching changing and administration changes and NIL issues.
Is this Richard Pitino news?
I don't think that's accurate.
Okay.
I don't think it's accurate. I think there's speculation.
Well, Nico Medved just left Colorado State
for his alma mater, which is the University of Minnesota.
Right. And like I mentioned, Dutch has that Minnesota clause in his contract.
Right.
So that could have happened.
I thought in my head, and I've never talked with him about this specifically, I thought when he didn't go to Minnesota initially, remember that job opened up 4 years ago?
Yeah, I remember.
I thought when he didn't go to Minnesota 4 years ago, that basically said that he was going to be at San Diego State. And you never know. Things can change, and the headwinds of NIL and transfer portal. But like to calm people further real quick, he's averaged 25 wins a year in his first 8 years. He's made the NCAA tournament 7 times. They went to a national championship game. They are top 3 winningest program of the decade in Division I. They'll adapt. Like Jim said, I like the line adapt or die. Businesses have to adapt. Regulations change. State laws and federal laws change. And guess what? Blockbuster got run over by Netflix. And by the way, if Netflix, they could get run over in the future. Their future isn't secure 25 years from now. Nobody knows what the world is going to look like. So you do have to adapt, or you can be put in a spot that's unfavorable. And they've adapted.
Yeah, it's with everything in life, truthfully. Your business, life, just whatever. If you are stuck in your ways and unwilling to adapt and unwilling to learn new things and unwilling to take a step out of your comfort zone, you're not going to succeed. You're just not. You're going to be stuck forever. And in the NIL world, that could not be more true, you have to adapt to the new norm. And if you are stubborn and you don't want to do it, well, then you're not going to be in the college basketball coaching, realm for much longer. Because if you don't want to go out and be in the transfer portal and talk about money and be okay with it, then guess what? This is probably not the job for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And it rings true in everything in life. Like if in radio right now, like our jobs, if we aren't willing to try video content and do more podcasting and do more social media and whatever else, right? If we just think that we can be like it was in 1995, where you just turn on a mic, that's all you had to do, that's not going to work nowadays.
It's a good analogy. It's a good comp. You're right. Because there were probably people having success in 1995 that wouldn't be enjoying success in 2025.
100%.
Because things do change. And no, it's a fair point. So anyway, I think the long and the short of it was that I think people should be more at ease than they were 24, 48 hours ago. And I'm not telling people how to fan. If you like the old way with 4-year college players, I understand it. I get it. I think most people prefer it that way. But we don't control what's going to happen with the future of sports. Maybe you liked Major League Baseball when they went straight to division winners and the postseason was the championship series and the World Series. Well, they've added 1 million wild cards and they put in the pitch clock and they're going to have automatic balls and strikes. You might hate it. You might love it. You might be somewhere in between.
They added the DH in the National League.
The universal DH. The runner's on second base, folks. I mean, what do we do? Everything has changed.
Everything changes over time. You have to adapt. And it's just how everything works. So if you're going to be mad, and I understand, like losing players in the portal, it sucks.
Right.
But it also is the new norm. And I feel like, nowadays there should be like, you got a 24-hour grace period. You can be upset for 24 hours.
Right. It's like if you lose.
Yeah. And after that, you move on. If you're a fan, I mean, as a fan, now it's like, all right, who are they going to bring in? I mean, that is exciting.
I kind of love that. Yeah.
That is exciting.
Free agency.
It is. But I also hate the fact that they lose guys as well. It's
Yeah.
it's a give and take type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And you just don't know. Like, we love the idea of Reese Waters and Miles Bird and Taj DeGorville and Farrell Compton and BJ Davis and Miles Heide, right? You love the idea of these players returning, but you can't guarantee yet that they're going to return until that transfer portal does close in something like 4 weeks. So again, if you missed our conversation with Brian Dutcher, you can hear it at sportssd.com or download the all new iHeartRadio app. Search for Jon and Jim and put us in your presets. You can listen back to that interview right now in the iHeartRadio app by searching for Jon and Jim. All right, we're here for another 15 or 20 minutes. Again, Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, a day before the start of the regular season, will join us tomorrow on Jon and Jim. But Jim's back page is coming up next. Don't go anywhere. It's San Diego Sports 760. All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Again, a reminder, tomorrow, 6 p.m., San Diego Sports 760 has STFC Midweek Live. Hear from head coach Mikey Varas, as well as interviews with players and coaches. Find out the latest club and MLS information, hosted by Adrian Garcia Marquez and Darren Smith. STFC Midweek Live every Wednesday at 6 on your home for San Diego FC, San Diego Sports 760. So you can hear Saturday's match as well against LAFC. Is that at 7:30 Saturday night? It is. We've been
correct. Pre-game is at
7 p.m. We got Darren again on the call. Question mark?
I think it is Warren Barton and Adrian Garcia Marquez.
Darren, come on. No. He's been, things have worked out. They're in fourth place in the West.
Well, they have a schedule, John, and Darren's not on that schedule for Saturday. So.
Rules are rules?
Rules are rules, buddy.
Okay, but he's not on the schedule. Well, you can hear him Wednesday. You can hear him tomorrow, Darren, with Adrian Garcia Marquez.
Mm-hmm.
Right here.
Yes, John.
Okay.
You're asking probably the wrong person, but
what do you want? Well, Darren, I'm not on the air with Darren.
Me
Darren,
neither.
Call in if you're listening.
I'm not on the air
Are you
with Darren
calling this
either.
game Saturday?
He's not calling the game Saturday. I know that.
Will he be there?
I talked to him, and he is not calling the game on Saturday.
Is he going to be there? Is he going to pull the double dip with you?
No, he's not. No, but I'm going to say he's going to go as a fan. Saturday night.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, first time this year because
he's been working.
He hasn't been able to watch the game from a fan's lens.
Right.
So
It's
far.
honestly, sometimes it's like when you work in the media and all I do is work Aztec events. Sometimes I'm like, man, I kind of
really hard
wish I was in the seats.
Sometimes it's hard to watch sporting events not through a media lens.
100%. And then you're there and you're like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, like how can I be a fan right now?
Yeah, what do I cheer? Or something?
All I think about is like social media and what can I talk about, and
I know.
just like it's like sometimes I just want to turn my brain off and just watch this stupid game.
You want to turn your brain off? Come on.
Yeah, that's hard to do. It doesn't work in the first place.
All right, let's get to it.
So I've mentioned this on the back page multiple times, and it's the Paul Skeens debut rookie card autographed that was up for auction. And the thing was, at one point it was like 600,000, and it was like 700,000. Well, it officially sold, John. Did you know how much it sold for?
I have no idea.
$1.1 million.
Million?
Yeah. $1.1 million for a Paul Skeens.
You know what's funny about that?
Debut rookie autograph card.
You know what he made last year?
Less than that.
$700K.
Yeah, ridiculous.
730 maybe.
Now you might be asking, who in their right mind would pay that much money for a guy that shouldn't have even won the Rookie of the Year last year?
Who is it?
Well, it's not a who. It's a organization.
What organization?
Dick's Sporting Goods.
Spent $1 million on?
They spent $1.1 million on this card.
To do what with it?
Dick's executives said that they would be building a new collector's space at its House of Sport store at Ross Park in suburban Pittsburgh, where the card would be displayed.
Huh. Interesting. Maybe a good way to get people in the store.
The move by Dick's should be a wake-up call to other major brands. Collectibles just aren't about nostalgia. They're an incredibly effective demand generator tool. They create blah, 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 blah. So we got Brent.
That was my favorite part of the story, the blah, blah, blah. But would somebody go in there just look at a card? It's not like you won the Heisman and you get to go and like look at the Heisman and go, oh, look, there's a baseball card. Well, you know what I mean? It's not like
Pittsburgh.
But
yeah,
here's the
but
thing. If I do think that some people, and probably a lot of people, would want to go see this card because you're looking at a card that's worth over $1 million.
Yeah, I guess.
You know, if
yeah, that's cool.
Some card store had a PSA 10 perfect condition Charizard card that's worth $1.6 million, I'd want to go look at that. You know, like I think people are going to want to go look at this card, and it's a good thing for Dick's
because it's in Pittsburgh store.
Yes.
You know, so like you're saying, hey, there's a lot of sports fans. I get it's the Pirates, not the Steelers, but okay, I'm curious. Let me swing by the store and check it out. But
I'd rather
it's a card.
I'd rather get my picture taken with the 1.2 million.
Maybe true. What else you have?
Sorry, hold on. Let me do here. I forgot yesterday, and I was driving past it today, and I'm like, I can't believe I forgot this. Crumble of the week. I'm such an idiot. Here are the crumble cookies of the week. We got a Biscoff cake. It's not really a cookie, but it's a part of their new items this week.
All right.
Love me some Biscoff. Oh, so good.
Biscoff being like the cookie, or
the cookie you get on the planes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Pineapple whip cookie. So it's like a sugar cookie with pineapple whip icing.
Sounds good.
A strawberry crumb cake cookie.
Okay.
The ultimate peanut butter cookie.
That's probably amazing.
Oh my God. It's a peanut butter cookie with like peanut butter caramel drizzle on top.
Yeah, that's great.
Chocolate sea salt toffee cookie.
Okay.
Cookies and cream brownie, which is at Crumble Cookie all month long. And then, of course, the regular milk chocolate chip cookie.
So they're changing this up every week nationally?
Yeah, every week. They do. They say every week they have new cookies out. A lot of times they keep some, like obviously the chocolate chip cookie they keep, but I mean, most of the time, pineapple whip, strawberry crumb cake, the Biscoff cake, those are new.
They should do on April Fool's Day, like, oh, we have a broccoli cookie. Just kidding.
They probably will. Everybody does
tofu.
That.
Here's a broccoli cookie. 7,000 calories.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, what
is this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of places. I remember the one year Pizza Hut did a thing where they claimed we're getting into the chicken sandwich game, only instead of like a bun for the sandwich, it was 2 pizzas. Like
they didn't really get
personal
into
pants.
it, right?
No, it was a joke.
I like that.
And finally, Chick-fil-A is rolling out a new bottle dressing. Unfortunately, fans won't be able to find it at any of their restaurants, but starting this spring, the fast food chain is introducing a Parmesan Caesar dressing available in grocery stores nationwide.
Grocery stores?
But not at the restaurant.
Not at the restaurant, no. Parmesan Caesar dressing.
Is that an interesting introduction to grocery for Chick-fil-A?
Well, no, they have other. They have their sauces. You can get their honey mustard and zesty buffalo sauces in stores. But as far as like salad dressing goes,
it's just weird because they don't. The other stuff, it's all stuff you can get at the store. So this is like, here's something we don't serve at the store.
Right.
Are they known for salad? Like they do like the chicken salad game?
Oh, yeah, they do.
Okay. Yeah.
I said finally, but I got one more.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Remember the giant, I forget what it was called, at Marlins Park in center field? What was it called?
Oh, the big Plinko looking board?
Wait, are you talking about the artwork?
Yeah, the giant, like.
Yeah, the thing in center field.
Thing in center
like
field.
Fish?
Yeah, it was like whatever it was called.
Hideous.
It was awful.
They got rid of it.
They did get rid of it.
Yeah.
But Marlins Park has added a new center field item.
No.
Yeah. Listen to this. The Marlins have added a cruise ship in center field at now called Lone Depot Park. Fireworks will shoot from the ship each game for the Marlins.
Is it sponsored? Is it like a Caribbean cruise ship or a Carnival cruise ship?
It's like NCL Norwegian Cruise Line Home Run Harbor.
So it's almost like part of a sponsorship, maybe.
Yeah. So it's a freaking cruise ship.
So there's gonna be no one there, and they hit a home run, then it fires off fireworks.
That could be kind of cool. I'm kind of picturing the Tampa Bay. Remember the Bucks had that pirate ship?
They still have that. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll have to tune into Marlins opening day now.
No, you won't.
I won't, unless the Padres are playing there.
But they're not.
I give you $10. You can tell me who the Marlins open with.
Sandy Alcantara. Who they play?
Tampa.
Pittsburgh. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it is Pittsburgh, actually.
Oh, is it?
That's hilarious. All right, if you missed anything today, including our conversation with Brian Dutcher, make sure to visit sportsSD.com or the iHeartRadio app, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, iTunes. You can listen back to our podcast. We are back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Kevin Acey is on the show tomorrow as well. Who do they open with? Do you have it?
Yeah, he's right. They do open the Marlins.
Of course.
You guys owe me $1 million.
Marlins versus, not the Marlins. Marlins Pirates.
Yeah.
It's not an intra squad. Okay. No. All right. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it here. San Diego Sports 760. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.